Classic KRP. Serral, Finn, Z. Give you guys 15 minutes. How much has the downtime been in between these series throughout the weekend, guys? Oh, what? We're gaming? That's fucking crazy. I need to take a very tiny break, guys. And after that, I'll be back. I have ads coming, and if I don't run ads now, that's gonna happen in the middle of the series, or I have to use all my snoozes. It's okay. First 3 minutes of PvZ. I promise I will tell you guys if you have any ads, if those adapts kill anything or not. I'll see you guys real soon. 2-3 minutes.
Zerg player, it is from BASILISK, Serral.
Big favorite to win the entire tournament. Big favorite, actually. Because even if we look at the bracket run right now, oh my god, he's counter rushing. Never mind.
Shut up with your fillers, EG. We don't need any of that. The Forge is down, and Classic's going to open this series with absolute utter chaos. Funnily enough, it's not the first cannon rush we've seen this weekend. Mana cannon rushed against Reynor on day 1. So it's not actually the first time we're going to see a cannon rush. Let's see what Classic's plan will be. Is he went to put down the pylon, and then he didn't, and now he is going to put it down.
Serral sees it. Serral actually keeps his overload over the natural. That is a move that says, I think you might counter rush me, honestly. So he is not totally underprepared for the possibility. And honestly, if you know it's on the way, most pro gamers are going to have the better end of the defense. I mean, I know Serral almost lost a Haas like 7 years ago. Counter rushes, but that was a while back, guys.
Nothing happened.
I don't know if Classic could find anything at this point.
He's not even trying. Throws the gateway down. Is happy that he's maybe got a couple of drones patrolling. He is actually going to get the cannon on the low ground. The drones are just going to pull against it, which, to be fair, if you
this
just
is too late,
cancel
man. It's way too late to get value out of this.
He's got to wait for his cyber core to be finished anyway. He's already got the Nexus building, so why not just place the cannon and force a bunch of drones to lose a bit of mining time?
But it also really hurts your own progression as Protoss. This is like, it's not like, oh, this is free, the drones are not doing anything, this is good for Protoss. It's not that simple.
You take the little.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are not in 2011 where the Forge Fast Expand was a totally legitimate macro move. This is possibly going to be okay. I'm not going to say he's totally dead because of this right now, but it's not the ideal position. We could also possibly...
Honestly, in my opinion, this is just bad for Protoss, because your Stargate is going to be a whole lot later. And if your Stargate is later, it's less likely you do damage. And if you don't do damage against Serral, I think you're already in trouble.
The problem is that Classic is going to be very...
Yeah, it's just bad for Classic. Some people might think, oh, it's not that bad, but it's actually pretty bad. Like, you're very limited right now. I think it's bad.
Crazy can happen. I feel like Serral is going to get all this benefit of being like, oh yeah, I defended this. He's not going to be able to attack until X time. At most, it's going to be a couple of oracles, and presumably Serral's defense against the oracles will be near perfect. Although Classic is certainly one of the oracle masters in Starcraft 2.
Yes, he is. He's very good with them, but man, everything's just going to be so off in this game that Stargate already feels horrendously late. And Serral is just going to take that as an opportunity to drone. He will be able to delay any of his kind of answers to Classic's aggression by just that little bit longer and get set up that little bit better against it all as well. So it's just got to feel very comfortable for Serral in this opening few minutes of Magnatha. And that's pretty big and pretty sizable. I looked at the videos and thought, you know, we might be starting off with a big, kind of decently long game here, but maybe not so much if Serral can go in with this kind of a lead. I mean, unless Classic just has to kind of sit back and wait as well and kind of not do much of anything, but I don't know if he's really going to be allowed to do that. Serral doesn't mind playing macro, but Serral is also happy to kill you if he knows you're not in a good position.
Yeah, and I think he's basically doing that now. He's not going for an all-in. He's not looking to actually kill Classic, but he's looking to hamper him severely. The Overlord saw the Void Ray. You see it when it produces, and that Void Ray will not handle Lings very well. And there's not going to be 2 gateways after the awkward opener that it was. So of course you just make 18 Lings apparently, and you might just get a cancel on the Nexus, or even threaten. I mean, don't threaten the National. Definitely go for the Nexus. Okay, the Void Ray is not even here to even try to help. Oh, it is. It is. It's about halfway done. Maybe salvageable. No. Nope. Yep. This is why Serral made those Lings, and he is going to get what he wanted. That cancel.
Just a great understanding that there's just not really a state of this game right now where Classic can hold on to that. So you're going to be able to delay the third base that little bit longer, and Serral just continues to take a good solid grasp on the...
Hello, Cuckoo. Thank you, mate, for the 24 months. There is a prediction. If you guys don't see the prediction, just press F5. Then there will be a prediction. No, I did not do a handicap. It's quarterfinals, offline event, no handicaps. We're just betting on winners and losers today.
It puts you in a bit of fear usually, but you know, the third Nexus, you got to cancel. Maybe that was going to be a kind of fake one anyway, like not all the probes are going to go on it. You're still going to have some time to try and figure out if that is the case. We did have Classic change his mind. I guess maybe he's going to try and fit in Archons, is my guess for the gases, and then realize he wouldn't be able to because he canceled them. And now he's going to go pure...
This is a real wingend build.
And Classic...
My boy Wingend playing in the quarterfinals over here of DreamHack Dallas.
And does something there, but...
Thank you, Sesamas, as well.
I feel like Serral has a very strong opportunity to deflect this.
Yeah, you sometimes see like the Zealots overwhelm and the roach number just doesn't get to be good enough, but as Serral keeps building roaches, it seems very good.
You see that when they don't have any roaches. When you've got like 4 roaches, by the time 12 Zealots show up, yeah, that happens. But if you show up with 8 Zealots and they've got 9 roaches ready, it's not gonna go very well.
Kind of keeping an eye on the rest of the lings on the other side, still trying to harass the probes as they swap between bases as
Omega
well.
bad.
So just trying to be as annoying as possible as Serral. Of course, Classic is fully ready to go with his charge finishing. Warp-ins will happen. Hopefully across the map, has to warp in a couple of Zealots defensively though, so that's already Serral slowing down and buying himself more time for more roaches. And looking to make
Look at Classic, his facial expression, he already knows. This is a very depressing moment as a Protoss, where you're forced to attack. You really don't want to attack, but you're forced to.
Round of Zealots. But this is where Serral can do a little micro as well. He can pull back the roaches. He can split them now, just because the Zealots will not be able to surround instantly and kill them instantly. And that means the Zealots are also going to get disjointed and then be easily manageable. Void Ray tries to come in to help out, but we still have 2 queens, more roaches.
I can probably help you after this game, Nikaya.
This is still Serral with 59 drones and a +1 missile. That would finish if this game were to continue on, but I'm not sure it will. Classic did not find the damage he needed to, and is probably realizing at this particular moment this is not salvageable. He's going to try, but it's not.
He's going to stop an Immortal. He may as well give it a go. If nothing else, get a bit more comfortable up on stage or so, because you're obviously going to have a continued series to play here. You're going to need to win 3 to kind of move on through, so yeah, may as well get comfortable and just kind of settle down a little bit still, because yeah, this game is clearly unwinnable at this point. It's very, very rough for him at this stage. Let's be realistic.
And Classic might be hoping that Serral plays in the macro, you know, like, he's a macro guy, he knows he's going to win a macro. He's not. Serral's going to go for the kill move, building nothing but roaches the entire time we've been talking, not because he's afraid of more Zealots, but because he's going to go for a Roach Queen attack across the map. I expected that Overlord speed, if he even really needs it. There is still a Void Ray, so I think that's maybe a little concern, but he is, at this point, doubling the army supply, which, to be fair, isn't terribly uncommon at this stage in PvZ, but it's going to get worse. And the Warp Prism can only buy so much time. Where I thought he was going to provide a Transport Overlord. So far, he is not.
Yeah, not going to be bothering. Just currently.
We've all been here. After a failed all-in, is like, well, we could leave. We could also try. And then you work really hard for your tiny bits of damage, but Zerg still grows twice as quick.
So that's really nice here for Classic, whose Prism goes low but keeps it alive. And that's really nice, just buying himself a few seconds. No, it's really nice until then.
Yeah, I don't think he realized the queens were pulled.
Yep.
I get, or the army was going that direction, but yeah, the queen's gonna be pulled the old-fashioned way. Overlord highway? No. All right, decides that it took too long. The War Prism did its job, bought enough time that Serral doubts the ability to end the life of the 3-base Protoss.
Honestly, it does make me feel good when I see these guys walk around with the Roddy armies 9 minutes in. 76 army supply and 68 of it is in Zealots. And like, with +1, it's really good against Zerglings, guys.
+1. But it is a game that he is allowed to play. Banelings are coming through, though. And
then you lose against Roaches, you're like, fuck. Roaches is just not fun, man. Why do they make so many Roaches?
You know, Zealot Immortal army that would... It has a chance, I guess, to get a good fight against the Roaches, right? No, the Banelings will come in and they will force these Zealots to either split like gods or crumble. I'm thinking the crumble effect as Serral preps for his defense. Classic going to go for a 3-base all-in at this point. I mean, his last one was kind of all-in, but this one's really, really all-in.
Yep. I mean, at this point, there's no benefit for him waiting, right? It's only going to get rougher. He knows that he's probably fortunate to be alive at this point.
Honestly, to me, it feels more like the Mercedes strategy.
best chance of being
Like,
decent.
any time now there's gonna be a safety car, and any time now Zealous are gonna be really good. Like, we're almost there. We're almost there, guys.
He knows he may as well just try and give it a go, and let's see what he can do, as he will have some force.
Honestly, without any Banelings, this could actually be somewhat scary, but Banelings is so good here.
First couple force fields are absolutely spot on. Obviously, Banelings do not have the ability to roll about just yet, so they're pretty slow going. We run out of force fields, but we do split the Zealots away fairly nicely, and we did pretty well, kind of surrounding some of those roaches.
What if he wins?
Yeah, that many Zealots is always going to be at least something you have to respect. And without the Banelings, hey, maybe this could have gone a lot.
Honestly, that was better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty good effort.
And that is a
Not good enough, but still pretty good effort.
He's just reading this.
There is a world where maybe that army would have won.
Saying, okay, it's Serral. He's not going to mess up the defense here, but you can see how it could happen if a Zerg player was taking it less seriously.
Hello, Smifer. Inex. Yeah, I was going to talk about my little trip in between the games, but it turns out there's absolutely no downtime. I'm sure there will be downtime eventually today, and then I can talk about everything that is not related to Dallas. But overall, I'm very happy to be back, guys. That's the most important thing.
This Classic has almost nothing.
Yep, he has very little. He's going to recall the Prism to try and make a defense happen. I mean, again, this is a situation where, because you're on stage at DreamHack Dallas, you're playing it out, but in a lot of situations, Classic would have been long gone from this one. He knows that this is a doom scenario.
Classic loves Spain, man. To still be in this game? It's like he forgot the safe word.
Who is still only 4 bases himself, but is in a very comfortable spot because he's choosing to be aggressive.
If you don't like it anymore, it's GG. You know that, right? We can always stop.
Serious damage.
I think you're spot on. Classic just trying to give it the best that he can. He's up on stage. Serral is going to take.
All right, somebody wanted the link of Shin Clem, so I'll see if I can find that very quickly. I'll just open up the VOD from yesterday. Witcasters, it is this one. And then I assume it was somewhere in the end. So I'm just finding So for the man who was asking about Shin Clem, this is the link, 7 hours and 34 minutes in. Shin versus Clem, 7:34. So this was yesterday, 7:34. That's when you can watch Clem Shin.
Was absolutely the correct way to go about it. And yeah, we are going to be heading ourselves into a game 2 with Serral taking that lead.
I did not see it yet either, guys.
So important quarterfinal match.
I have only heard about Quick Infestus, that's all.
Which means qualification for Esports World Cup.
And as I said earlier, I was omega surprised by that result, like omega. I would have never predicted it. And anybody who said that they would have seen that coming, honestly, is either lying or clueless.
Classic really wanted to change things up. He wanted to start off with a cannon rush that was handled just too well. Because sometimes those cannon rushes, they get up maybe like 1 or 2 cannons and it just gets a little sloppy. That didn't happen. And the read on the Voider to get the canceled Nexus just felt like that was the true indicator that Serral was really, really on point. And I'll see if that continues on for the rest of the series. In the top right, now down a game.
All right, guys. Serral, 2 maps away from also securing his ticket to EWC, our big tournament in Saudi Arabia this summer. Of course, whoever wins Dallas, that matters. The story here is important. Someone's going to get a trophy, I hope. I hope we have a trophy presentation. But top 4 is the second trophy this event.
Not going to try the Forge. I expect any other time in this best of series. Not with Serral keeping the Overlord and the Natural too, which there's not necessarily that big of a downside it feels like for it. I mean, I'm sure there is, and this is why we don't see it every single Overlord maybe not getting into the...
Well, what was that sound? Did you guys hear that?
For instance, as fast as it normally would.
Yeah, Serral is looking mega handsome, by the way. I know he's always been a good-looking kid, but I looked at that earlier as well when he was suddenly on my screen. I was like, holy fuck. So you're telling me he's getting better and he's becoming more beautiful? It's fucked up, guys. A little unfair to the rest of us, honestly.
The cannon rush is almost entirely based off a total surprise factor, and this just makes it at the very least not a total surprise.
Ni hao, Allison.
Definitely a thing to think on, as at least they're going to get a more normal game as well for Classic, right? Obviously last game they went wrong from minute 1. The cannon rush went nowhere, completely wasted investment, and so yeah, now we actually get to see Classic maybe play from like a real position, a real opportunity. getting into this one. That was Classic's map pick, by the way, as well, Magnata. So that was his map pick. He decided to try and cannon rush on. So another little thing to think on.
Maybe trying to subvert the expectation that, hey, I'm the Protoss player. I'm the one who's a little bit scarier going into that late game. That is the talk of the town. So I pick a big map. I'm hoping that gives me the defender's advantage even more so as you try to kill me before then. Just kidding. I'm going to go for a cannon rush. And in that sense, that's, you know, it sounds kind of clever, but it just, yeah. I think the fact is that the cannon rush was already a bit revealed as a strategy in this tournament, which is kind of funny to say. There's a lot more opportunities for just, oh, I didn't face that particular player. I didn't know that's what he was going to do. But I feel like with Mana getting an upset, maybe it was a little...
The games between Han Mono and RotterdaM, were they on stream in the beginning of the weekend? And if so, like, was it usual Han Mono stuff? Like Han Mono just being very crazy, aggressive, 1 base, 1.5 base. First series of the weekend. And I guess the games were short and explosive, or usual Han Mono stuff? Okay. Still pretty sick victory, gotta give it to Han Mono.
Scouting, do something tricky on his own, but then wasn't there to provide defense of the third.
Because I'm sure that RotterdaM is familiar, right, with the reputation that Han Mono has. Even if he may not play against him every week, I'm sure that he has seen a couple games and maybe has played online once or twice. So for Han Mono to pull that off at an offline event, pretty sick.
So a little bit of that front pressure that Serral has to deal with.
Blings will actually get in there. That's actually really nice. Just chase a probe away. Just already disruption. Look at that. 5-6 probes just off the mineral line. We're actually going to get it.
I would leave
as well. It's just those little things you don't want to have happening. A couple of adepts on the map and just already just tiny little things. You know, those are the things that, you know, Serral takes just little by little, and eventually they just kind of blow up in your face as Classic if you let too many of those go off.
We've seen a couple of PDZs in this tournament where it's very clear that those little things add up. Oracle, though, does find the slightly under... the Queens are confused. Okay. Slightly under-defended. Natural base, the Spore wasn't done, and the Queens, they're actually stuck at each other, but just either by purpose or an accident, the drones are all on the right side anyway. So Classic.
Yeah, I saw Trigger had a good run, and I saw that he had a very, very close and competitive series with Solar. I tried to load the stream, but it didn't quite work for me. So I was a Discord Liquipedia fan, which honestly was pretty exciting. I thought it was so close to him getting it done. Is it live? These games are very live, yes. I am just a co-streamer. With a bit of luck, I would have actually been able to co-stream the second day as well, but by the time that my ticket was finally booked, unfortunately, leaving yesterday was no longer an option. So, or well, 2 days ago. So unfortunately, I missed the second day as well. No, I couldn't watch it at all.
And again, just information gathering for Serral gets to continue.
Yeah, he is going to miss the actual...
Only whenever I was in my room and I had Wi-Fi, I could like load up VODs, but if I was anywhere else, I couldn't watch anything. And in the plane, I couldn't really watch it either. I tried, but this wasn't quite good enough.
But knowing that the most likely follow-up is going to be Twilight Council and Forge, anything off, like maybe a faster Robo, for instance, just to really throw something weird in there, you know, might have been around those extra pylons. It wasn't. But Serral's going to get another chance to get scouting, I'm sure, eventually, as his lair finishes up, could get an Overseer in 2. Very safe play here from our Zerg as he grabs a Roachborn. The Queen so far being the defender, though, and he's a little light on Lings, perhaps. I think Classic sees that. Wants to go in for it with the Adepts all shading, as well as the...
Don't lose your Oracles now, mate. If you want to have any chance in this game, you cannot donate your Oracles. Yona's playing really good.
As much as possible. How that looked okay in the beginning, but it did not end up that okay for Classic in the end. He is going to lose 5 Adepts.
Legit, incredibly good defense.
Kind of even. Just Classic losing more of that gas is the issue.
I think the biggest problem is that he has barely killed any drones, and now all 3 Oracles are relatively low. 2 out of 3 Oracles are mega low in HP.
And Serral makes it look like a pretty darn smooth defense for the early stages of this game too. You know, resources lost even, but as long as you're not losing out on drones, right, your economy is going to be nice and comfortable, so you just do not mind. As Classic already on the way to that Temple Archives beyond this +1 and Blink that he's investing into, so already looking toward the future, starting to get a lot of that tech up and running here. We'll see where Serral takes this right now. A lot of roaches on the way out with his upgrades. Obviously, with what Classic is doing, he could maybe start to kind of drone up a little bit further and so on. But he might want to get aggressive himself here if Classic...
I'll be honest, I'm not very worried for anything in this game so far for Serral. Just feels that everything is going according to plan. A lot of the little interactions working out exactly the way that he has in mind. Not a lot of creep, but kind of feel that Serral is absolutely cruising.
Second stasis trap actually bamboozles. There is the infestation pit as the Oracle finally truly flees. The Overseer digged into the main base to get a pretty nice scout. Sees that it is Templar Archives, chronoing out the storm. Not, 10 gateways, about to hit him with stalkers on the front line. Looks like he is going to have the army that can posture a little bit, that can certainly deflect any amount of stalkers that might show themselves across the map, but isn't really going to gear up for any type of attack. As we do have the technology on the way, those extra drones coming through too, as we decide, okay, it's going to be the full-on macro game. And Serral, I guess, not really too keen on doing everything he can to try and stop the late game from happening, where a lot of those Zergs would feel very uncomfortable here. Serral has always been the one that seems the most comfortable. The army that I don't think was really supposed to find a lot of damage on the offensive does find the stalkers in an awkward position. A little bit of a trade there, but does get another stasis trap in his natural.
Yeah, that was just a case of Blink was moments away from being done, so the Lings and the Roach is able to get a couple of shots off that were maybe not quite expected. And, well, meanwhile...
This is a very fragile army to be moving out with. Hold it. Mate, this is crazy. On creep, this army? Attacking rocks? What are we doing? What?
We're going to try and threaten the High Templar straight away, but you're going to have to storm in response. We do get the Prism to save those.
Somehow good save, but this seems really crazy to me.
So Classic with his own opportunity to be aggressive. Stasis Ward catching a few units as well.
Then again, it's a lot of stalkers.
Serral to come in through the top side.
Yeah, this ends up being very tricky. Storms blanketing the third or fourth base. The Queens, unfortunately, will survive that. There's just a severe lack of other units, but the Storms are all gone.
I think we're just a bit too deep on creep, but honestly doing pretty good so far.
It will not. Good target fire there from Serral before he is forced to flee as the Blink Stalkers blink aggressively. They
really
see the
good. What the fuck?
Serral did not acquire
this is really
enough
sick.
of an army
He's actually
in
doing
time. Thought he had this perhaps a little longer. Maybe the Stalkers wouldn't be so aggressive.
Hey,
Maybe
so
he wouldn't
sick.
push in through that choke like he did.
What?
The Classic saw the opportunity and took it. Yeah, Serral very much underprepared.
This is
That'll
insane.
lead up to something like 85 drones. Have the army that can posture a little bit, that type of attack.
When I saw the move out and it was so exposed, it felt really crazy to me to commit to this. Look at this, this looks like nothing. Like the stasis trap is really good. And then the hot pickup with the prism, like at this point it looks like it's going to be a total disaster of an attack. But he drops the storm, has a stasis, picks up the High Templars, and just grows the stalk in front of like absolute nuts.
Try and threaten the High Templar straight away, but you're going to have to storm in response. We do get the prism to save those.
This is
and now
so
we
good.
get ourselves a bunch of these stalkers starting to push onto this base of Serral. So Classic with his own opportunity to be aggressive.
I know 86 against 69 is maybe pushing it a little bit, but when I saw that move out, it didn't look like much. Those storms were very good.
Third or fourth base, the Queens unfortunately will survive that. There's just a severe lack of other units, but the storms are all gone. The stalkers are left somewhat alone. Archon will maybe get a shot off. It will not. Good target fire there from Serral before he is forced to flee.
That's such a good blink, by the way, as well, so the reinforcements don't show up.
Opportunity, and Serral did not acquire enough of an army in time. Thought he had this perhaps a little longer. Maybe the stalkers wouldn't be so aggressive. Maybe he wouldn't push in through.
Honestly, very sick.
Perhaps for somewhat alone.
When he started this move out,
through his world, those hiders now pumping out, but Classic's actually going to push forward.
if you tell me that he's about to kill Serral here, I'd be giggling.
Templar straight away, but you're going to have to storm in response. We do get the prism to save
Did
those.
everything right.
And now we get ourselves a bunch of these stalkers starting to push onto this base of Serral. So Classic with his own opportunity to be aggressive. Stasis Ward catching a few units as well, making it tricksy for Serral to come in through the top side.
Yeah, this ends up being very tricky. Storms blanketing the third or fourth base. The Queens unfortunately.
Storms is just so freaking good, no?
A severe lack of other units, but the storms are all gone. The stalkers are left somewhat alone. Archon.
We've got a series, guys. 1-1. Wow. That's mega impressive by Classic. I'll give him that.
Corporeal, a fun map where this gets really awkward kind of later into the game, where those middle bases can be kind of tough for Zerg to deal with. So, you know, you kind of try and take into move into the center, but obviously Protoss likes to push into the middle as well. So that's definitely going to be something to think on. As we
Well, so far, guys, we are only in our second best of 5, and I've already seen 2 games end in a way where I really did not expect them to end. Obviously, Hero Maru game 1, I did not expect to end like this. And this game, obviously, it didn't look over or anything, but I didn't think that Serral was in any danger of dying immediately, and then he just did.
Go on the natural though, for the first few moments.
Yeah, Classic not particularly keen on getting the hatch block. Serral, I guess is the best way to put it. is keen on not letting it happen. That does provide that easy wall off in the natural then, if there is going to be any type of a...
Obviously, as a Basilisk man, I'm always rooting for Serral here. I think that goes without saying. But the neutral Starcraft fan in me would obviously also think it'd be awesome if a single Protoss made it into the top 4. Having no Protoss represented in the top 4 is something we've seen so often over the last few years, and I do think that sucks for Starcraft. So I guess in that way it's a win-win, but it goes without saying that obviously I am biased and I am cheering for a Serral victory, as that's good for my team and that's important for me, because that's technically good for me as well.
And the way that it micros, and it is very annoying.
Thank you, Alien Matey, for the 27 months. There will be moments, guys, where I can talk about Tokyo, where I can talk about Korea. I really love Jeju. I can sneak that in. I don't know if you guys are the same, but if I have the opportunity to go to a place that I've never gone to, I try to do as little research as possible because I don't want to spoil it. I know you can see pictures of literally every single meter of all these places on the internet, but I don't want to do that. I just want to go there and experience it for the first time and be happy or sad. I knew so little about Jeju, like I barely ever heard of that place. But I fucking love it. Like I think Jeju Island is amazing, and I hope I can come back one day. What a cool little island.
Classic was going to be so aggressive with it.
Yeah, I think it was that confidence of just like, I will walk on creep and I will try and kill you. That just, like you say, was just not quite in the kind of...
I can talk about Battle Aces quickly, as that's somewhat relevant to video games we're watching. I did not see that coming, guys. Like I am obviously aware that I felt that the betas were not quite taking off the way that they were expecting it to take off, but I also thought that it wouldn't matter at all, because the first one was a real close beta where you could only get in if you lived at Twitch Live, and there are so many gamers out there that don't care about Twitch. Like, obviously, I grew up with Twitch. I love it. I can't imagine a world without it. But there are so many gamers out there that never used Twitch or used to use Twitch and stopped. And then the second beta was just a bit of a disaster, right? Because all the units were locked. I didn't even play the second beta because there was so much negativity around it. I was like, okay, they're taking notes. Third beta came back. At that point, what a lot of people have is just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in playing for like a week and then the game goes away again because then I'll just miss it. I'm just going to wait until it's like finally available, right? So it's like, yeah, the numbers weren't that good, but I never thought that it would be like so dramatically impactful that they would just can the entire thing. I honestly very surprised and properly sad about it, because I know I've always said I don't think Battle Aces is a replacement for Starcraft 2. It's way too different, but legitimately a fucking good game. Like, the units looked so cool, they were so easy to tell apart, they made sense, the sounds were amazing, the feels were amazing, the concept of being able to battle within 20-30 seconds. I love so many things about it. The voice lines, it's really sad, honestly, proper sad. And yeah, just once more goes to show that it's so tough to make RTS or anything close to an RTS work in the year 2025.
But Forge is also going to come down. It's not going to be totally dedicated, but a little earlier on that technology, you can provide that aggression.
Like, it should have indeed been like completely open for anyone, and then for like 2-3 months. Not a closed beta where you need a friend to get you in and you can play for like 7 days. Like, for instance, Vicky, my girlfriend, is a perfect example. She didn't play Beta 3, not because she doesn't like Battle Aces, but she's just like, I don't want to play it for like 2 days and then it's gone. She's like, I'm just going to be annoyed, so I'll just wait until I can play more. Like, that's very common for a lot of gamers. And also, some people, some days you're just busy, right? What if I would have been gone for 8 days? I wouldn't have played a single game. So, really, really sad about it.
You know, that's a respectable decision, even if he wasn't going Glaze, because last game, he kind of dove in with those adepts, and it was kind of whatever. Like, he didn't really do much with it, so...
Yeah. I mean, the numbers were not great, but again, closed beta and whatnot. I don't know. Just sad. Hopefully, maybe somebody else takes it over. Maybe Tencent like drops it, and then I don't know. The product gets absorbed by another publisher, and it comes back to life. I don't know. That's a lot of adepts, by the way, guys. Good news is we have roaches on the way. Even better news is we got 4 Zerglings on the base without a battery. Oh, that's so big. 4 legs, baby.
But I
4 kings.
don't see any drone pulls happening. He thinks he can get the mustard defense in time, but I don't know if that is actually true. That is so many adepts.
That's not a... That's,
there is
what?
a block, very last second, but it is so last second that Evolution Jaber, of course, was not going to stand up to that many adepts. Gets one shot.
This looks bad.
Wings are going to be able to help out here. We're going to have to pull the drones away. Very late scout. Very late unit production here for Serral. might still be able to mitigate the losses, but there we go. A lot more drones going
everything
down to
is
the main
stuck
base.
as well. This is really bad.
Losses.
What a nice stasis ward as well. Just catching a few of those roaches coming up the ramp. Caught a couple that were already there too. 17 workers down. Obviously a lot of drones not mining at the moment as we go to the natural. Now these drones are obviously going to run away again, so it's even more time.
This is a very nice catch.
And roaches at least catching the adepts over to the far right side, stopping the third base from being in trouble.
Honestly, guys, if we lose 20 to 25 drones, I call it a win.
They decide to stick around.
We lost 17?
Trying to maintain some of the units. As Serral is droning.
Honestly, I'll take it. With how late we solved it, with how many adepts there were, with how easily they tore down that wall, I'll take it. I just covered it, Visionary. I am obviously a member of Basilisk, mate, so it's always good for me if Basilisk players win. The neutral Starcraft fan in me is okay with Classic winning, because that's good for the scene. It's nice to see one Protoss at least make it into the top 4. A Protoss guaranteeing a EWC slot, even though we already have Hero. So it's a win-win, but needless to say, as a Basilisk man, I always hope Serral wins.
Not necessarily Resonant Glaives, right? And not necessarily to them anything super aggressive. Depths, it was just a bit too late for what we'd call an appropriate response. Was it a good enough response? Technically?
I'm very impressed that Serral only lost 17 drones there. And I know 17 is a high number, but that is a shit ton of adepts. It's a big investment with Glaives. We weren't ready. And lost 22 in total, but honestly, still hope.
Well, especially Classic, knowing that was a real possibility, making sure to recall the adepts. It's just... It seems like a straight-up good position for Classic. And the game's not over yet. Serral, obviously, as you said, going back on the drones, already making up for the drone losses, already up to 70, but it is Classic also being able to go up.
Without being too much of a fanboy, a lot of Zergs would have been dead there. Can't think of too many Zergs that still be in a very, very playable spot. Who is ahead? I would say like Classic is ever so slightly ahead because he's got +2 on the way, he's got Storm finishing up. Like Serral cannot kill Classic anytime soon. But that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're Serral. So I would say that Classic is now getting into a spot that normally you really have to fight for as a Protoss. That's not going to be very easy for Classic, but it doesn't mean that he can just win. So Classic ahead, but definitely not game over.
Yeah, we are... You're right, there's just so much he needs, and there's definitely that opportunity of Classic just say, hey, look, I'm in a good position, let's go and attack. Very kind of, you know, last game-esque, where he just said, this is my opportunity, let's make it happen. He may just do the same thing here because he set himself up in a good position. We're going to start morphing in some Banelings here as Serral to try and get some defense going. That'll be interesting to see if they work out. Just sort of
this is going to be scary. 23 Banes, but they're going to be slow Banelings, right?
We got ourselves more links coming through as well.
That's a bit surprising, in my opinion.
Stasis ward gets popped early on the left.
Or did I miss Baneling speed? Oh, he's got Baneling speed.
Straight up this ramp and attacking very early on here. First Storm's already coming down. A lot of the Banes getting caught up on the ramp, and the Storm's actually getting mega damage done. Now, some of the Banes will get close to the army.
Pretty good for Serral.
Morph into an Archon in something of a scramble, but I think that scramble is going to favor Serral a little bit as he continues to chase.
Like, the biggest difference here is that this time Serral was truly able to get on top of that army. While last game it was always run in range, disengage, run in range, disengage. With the Banelings, he could just keep on running in, and then the Stalkers have to go so far back that the High Templars cannot be saved anymore. The morphing Archons cannot be saved, so that was very, very good by Yona.
Supply extra for the Zerg player isn't the most comfortable place to be, but when you include maybe a slightly different technology in the Banelings, which we haven't been seeing too much from the other Zerg players in this matchup, and then to
go back to the previous topic, obviously down to talk more about it later, but I did not have any inside info about Battle Aces being on the verge of just being cancelled altogether. I did speak with David Kim a couple times throughout the beta, and he did kind of let me shine through once that obviously he was hoping to get the word out a little bit more, but I didn't ever think that it was like that drastic, that it was on the verge of yes we continue or no it gets scrapped altogether. And honestly, proper set. When I read it, just proper set. It really brought me down for a bit.
Himself, Classic is making his move over into those Tempests, which have been a real bother for a lot of Zerg players. But Serral, it feels like he's got that permission to just explode on the production tab after handling that push. He was already investing into a couple of crucial technologies, but now it's just everything all at once, plus him gaining some map control, going for some run-bys, and the Banelings are still a threat to the probes. Not as good as they once were, but you do have to consider them. And it looks like Serral is not going to find a lot of damage. This is all disruption. This is all scouting. And this is all kind of, I suppose,
we'll take that
Serral, is going to be able to add on all of these upgrades. He's got so many on the production tab. And these lurkers, they're going to come out, and they're maybe even going to be accompanied by a Nidus Swarm eventually. And then Classic is going to have to handle multi-pronged attacks, and that's where things can get a little tricky for the Protoss.
Honestly, I don't think it's so much about who's ahead here. I think it's just more about who's going to play better. If Classic plays flawless from here on out, I think he's got a really good shot with the Tempest, the Immortals, the Storms, Motherships. But if Yona does Yona things, he's got a very good shot. And I also think Serral's going to be a little bit stronger in like the next 90 seconds. Normally not enough to get like a game-ending victory, but maybe enough to get himself incredibly well set up for the late game.
These Rogues going to try and destroy themselves out a little bit.
Yeah, like a lot of time is going to work in favor of Classic, but like a little bit of time. We all know that Tempests are not the units that if you have 2 Tempests that you're cooking, right? Like what you really want is cannons, batteries everywhere, high Templars spread out, and then a bunch of Tempests. Like Serral casually getting this 5th base is so big. With what? Like what did we even spend there? A couple roaches?
And they bought a lot of time, so much so that there was an entire free Nexus.
That should not have happened. I agree with Jeremy, guys. I really don't think that Serral was supposed to kill that 5th base there. But it's just, I guess the roaches at the 6 o'clock base really distracted him and properly kept him busy.
He lost that 5th base, but it is a sign of things to come. And you can still get a better handle on these multi-pronged attacks. He absolutely could, and the ultimate army battle could still be very tough for Serral. But Serral is not going to give Classic.
Oh, this could be massive. Lurkers behind the army, maybe?
16 Lurkers coming right across the map, right on top of Classic's 4th base.
Yep.
That's going to be difficult to run into.
A couple of Archons are going to be in some trouble. We see Tempest on the right side, the Mothership nearby. Tempest continue to come about. The Stalker Immortal heading towards the upper right side. So Classic just going to counterattack. He is not ready to deal with that amount of Lurkers just yet. He wants to try and force something over on the top right, maybe get a base, and then try and maybe just recall home.
Yona.
He's actually going to jump on some of these Lurkers as they come across here, though, so he gives himself an opportunity to take a better trade. Nicely done.
And the Lurkers, some of them
sick game, actually. Very, very sick game.
Them recollect and are going to take a better fight the next time around. Be a little more prepared. You're very intentionally jumping on top of the army, then burrowing, even a couple of transfuses, keeping those Lurkers alive. Tempests are here, and we do not have a lot of solid anti-air. A couple of Hydras, a handful of Queens, and no Spire done. So the Tempests, they will take a long time to pick through that many Lurkers. But they are a barrier.
This counter for Serral right now is important. Serral really needs to get something as well.
Now he's on 4 bases, still going up to 5. He can still recover from this. His own army can occasionally be very good as far as the exchanges go, resource-wise.
What a great decision by Classic to just move out to the top right. Honestly, pretty sick.
Use the opportunity when we had it to try and attack into the Protoss.
Really, really, really good game sense, because I think a lot of Protoss players would have just fought.
Protoss really looks like a bully when they can take these Tempests to the Lurkers and there's no Corruptors to help out.
Yep, these Tempests are just going to be absolutely destroying for the moment, but 12 Corruptors...
Starcraft tournaments are really unpredictable in 2025, eh? What the fuck? What is this game? I know I've been gone for a couple of weeks, guys, but what am I looking at?
I mean, he doesn't have the money to max out fully, so Classic is going to be in control for the moment. The Lurkers are burrowed up. The Zelts on the right side with the cannon going to be there to push the Lings back up.
By the way, this is a really important series for all the Europeans as well, because obviously the Europeans want European players to qualify, so they don't have to worry about them in those European EWC qualifiers that are going to be played online, but are mega important.
On the left side. And just using those Tempests nice and patiently for the moment is Classic.
Like, imagine how much easier those qualifiers are if Reynor and Serral would have qualified here through Dallas. Then there are suddenly 20 Europeans that will dream about qualifying for EWC. With Reynor and Serral in those qualifiers, yeah, you might dream too, but you know, those are some lucid dreams.
Let's move on it. There's that chance that it won't kill everything, right? And then as soon as he burrows, that's when the Tempests move out of position and they're like, okay, now we're going to attack into you. The Corruptor count has grown to something nice, and we even got a couple of Vipers being added on. But there's still
massive overkill on the Observer, no? Obviously nice to kill an Observer, but...
Concave. And actually, Concaves have been saving Serral to a certain degree for the last minutes.
If Serral turns this game around, he's absolutely such a psycho. Because he looked very dead.
And so he is alive, but he's not getting access to a 5th base, which Serral does need. He might still be close to max out, but he needs that bank. And he needs some, I guess, second chances as well in case, yeah, fight does go poorly for him. Classic actually pulling back gives Serral some opportunity for a run by. Gets a High Templar, some Banelings help clear out these Zealots. But Serral, the army's going to come over here, and it will kill this very small army that is here. So he will try to get away, but I'm not sure that he's going to be able to. Yeah, blink forward even. More lurkers trying to come over. He's going to be able to position himself defensively. Classic has so much of the map control, and he's just going to continue poking and prodding with these Tempests. Although he doesn't have detection on those lurkers this time, that's going to save him.
The lurker's going to be able to stand strong, but this is a difficult moment because Serral's really just kind of...
Any Serral believers in the chat?
Some control and bases in the center.
We were down 35 supply. I don't think we have Neuro. No, I definitely don't think we have Neuro. But he does have Fungals. Fungo and Parabomb.
Cross armies progress to the point we're at. We are going to see a massive Fungo that helps, but can we actually kind of justify, kind of jump on this
Parabomb.
with everything else?
Fungo and Parabomb.
Going to force the recall, so Classic realizes that this is going wrong. What an opportunity Serral.
What a fight.
And that one, and Classic will have to spend a lot of his bank to even things out after that.
Wow. I feel like we should be calling this DreamHack Dallas Revenge of the Infestor. First it was Clem, then it was Classic. Just not expecting the Fungals to arrive, and then also a Parasitic Bomb, which they're actually pretty impactful when everything is going to...
I agree, the lack of Archons. Like, what makes it almost impossible for Zerg players to take fights like that is if the Archon numbers are higher. Because then the Corruptors simply cannot dive on top of the Tempest. And then you kind of have to rely on the Lurkers, but then the Lurkers go in range slowly. They eat Storms, eat Immortal Shots. The Archon count was freaking low. So I agree with whoever pointed that out.
Sent probes to saturate, and then also had accumulated bank as he was kind of tiptoeing.
But that could have something to do with Classic losing that 5th base earlier, right? Because if Protoss is on 5-6 bases earlier, they often have a shit ton of gas. If you're on 4 bases a bit longer, then you just don't have gas to build a fleet beacon, motherships, Tempest, upgrades, and a whole bunch of Archons. So that really has to do with losing that 5th earlier.
Classic is going to finish his +1 finally. That is it feels a little...
Archons are derpy, but that's not the point. They're not there to like really be amazing. They're there to prevent certain moves from the Zerg happening.
Not as easy as perhaps some other Zergs would have made it for Classic to just keep on pressuring the lurkers with the Tempest. Serral actually biting back basically and showing his teeth. You need to still respect his late game, even if right now the meta says the Protoss has the advantage. Maybe not against Serral.
PvZ and PV Serral metas are a little bit different oftentimes, right? He is just so good in that later stage of the game, and he's had multiple super important and clutch fights that have allowed him to extend into a state of the game where we expect him to be a bit better. We had one earlier on that was necessary for him to be able to get all of his tech online. He had this one just now to really step back in the game and, like you say, perfect some of his upgrades, perfect the army composition.
I always find it so crazy when I see only one pylon protecting a base with 4 cannons and a battery. It's like, just asking for pain.
Get over here to defend it, or probably not, and that's going to be a big loss on the right side. As he's not going to go for it at the same time now, you know, Nidus is popping up here, there, and everywhere, so they are putting some work in too, as our next on the right side does already fall.
Oh, the probes!
Those probes, maybe didn't want to stack up on the gas. It's a lot of probe damage. All right, well, 3 survive. 19 probes, easily recoverable though for Classic at this point in time. It's the continued run by his catching Nexus that he has to worry about, but he can afford to lose on another one there. Nidus Worm this time around at the Triangle 3rd base. This Classic looks to attack into Serral's 6th, which Serral does need. He's almost out of money, I think, at his first 4 bases. Big
sick feedbacks. Very, very good feedbacks.
Actually, bigger feedbacks. All of the infestors, almost all of them, out of juice now. Nidus Worm provided a couple of lings on that base, but nothing that Classic could not handle. Classic maybe making sure to always have some supply so he can warp in against these Nidus Worms. Handles this pretty well. And the Zealots on the offensive, not finding a lot. Serral does have the defenses up on his bases.
Already had the feeling this was going to be a sick game after Serral like somewhat held successfully against the Adepts, even though he was not ready and he was supposed to be in all sorts of trouble. Already just sets the stage for a really good ZVP, and it's been delivering.
Just kind of sitting there and kind of taking the damage at the moment. Obviously, Broodlord's taking the chance to come onto the field. So Serral going to kind of, again, invest into something a little bit later game. So as this Lurker scrolled around the right side, a ton of spores coming up as well. As again, preparations for this game just going deeper and later coming through. Definitely getting this kind of somewhat expected longer game between Serral and Classic. And the two way that these two play kind of naturally lead into this a lot of the time. And that's going to happen on Incorporeal with these Lurkers burrowed and Zealots unable to obviously fight those off on their own on that right side, which means this base is in trouble again, but maybe that's an opportunity you grab to push up the left side yourself.
You guys can see the Archon numbers now, right? Like, what a night and day difference with that fight earlier where he got blasted. This is just a problem because there's so many of them. And Broodlords is a way to keep them at bay, but then you've got Tempest who just one-shot Broodlords. This is a much more difficult army to defeat.
Yeah, not able to pull back the lurkers when he's got so many, basically so many units that he has to control appropriately.
Questionable carrier
Lurkers not pulling back.
transition.
The Broodlords obviously need to be careful not to get sniped by the Tempest first and foremost. The Corruptors need to make sure not to get stormed, so they kind of have to bulk up for their one.
As a man who loved the carrier for like 13 years straight, I'm really not a believer these days.
I mean, it's a lot.
I feel like it's just one of these, like, oh, I've got money, I want a late game unit that costs a lot, but I feel like they're never good, man.
Also running out of minerals on his first 4 bases. Like that is what's happening here in a 22-minute game. A Classic still comes out a little ahead on the bank. Maybe that
Vacation, Arizona State. What do you mean vacation, mate? I was doing 20,000 steps a day. When I'm in Zuidland, I average 800 steps. That was not a vacation. I had to work till like 2, 3 a.m. No vacations, mate.
Concern for Serral is to be
Never a vacation for me.
with how he takes fights.
Yep, these armies are the exact kind of armies where if one fight just sways one way, 2,000 resources lost goes to like 8,000 maybe, right? Like it is devastating if you take the wrong fight right here.
Hello, Dave.
Honestly,
Dave, you sicko. Sending me some buckies on PayPal when I'm not even streaming. What a man. What a man, this Dave Tester.
We are on a bit of mineral, a bit of gas bank. There's not a huge rebuild available here for either player.
I do feel like I'm a very beautiful lady when that happens, so Dave. It's like, oh my god, I knew I still had it.
Plus 2 air weapons. Finally going to carriers is going to be a little bit more impactful on those. And
They can both still win, guys. They can really both still win. But I don't think carriers are
we'll get that upgrade
ideal.
going. As he pushes some creep back away on that right side, may make that base he's re-expanding to on the 3 o'clock a little bit safer.
Then again, it's only +1 carapace on the Corruptors. Like, as long as the Corruptors don't have +3 air, like, carriers can do something. Obviously, carriers don't even have +3 air weapons yet, but if the carriers have, like, 1 more attack upgrade and the Corruptors have armor, the carriers are not too bad. If it evens out, I do feel like they become very bad.
Gonna push to the left and vice versa. And Classic is gonna take a little while to respond. This isn't the widest map in the map pool, actually, so it's not the largest gap, but it still is one that Serral is going to continue to pinpoint. And at some point, you know, I mean, both players are not in a comfortable position, as you're pointing out here, but at some point it might be up to Classic to kind of say, like, no, I need to...
I mean, Hero Maru was not a bad series. It was honestly pretty exciting. As a Starcraft fan, I was not unhappy. A little bit unhappy with the result, because I wanted to see Reynor today. I think it was a fun, exciting series.
In their army in some ways, in other ways, you know, big blob of death ball, not very mobile. Classic does seem to be focusing a lot on the right side. Serral has built defenses already there, some static defense, going to help just a little bit, and is preparing to move his army accordingly. And this is a bit of a stalemate. I think both players, you know, not eager to take that potentially game-ending fight, because you're right, I think as soon as we...
Speaking of stalemates, what did you guys think about that new Basilisk signing? That's a pretty sexy one, if you ask me.
The Tempest here. Gonna fly through, gonna go after the Nidus network, and we'll just clear that up. So that will go down. We get a Ling in the center, going to be falling as well. So the Watchtower taken back as we are just waiting for the players to be both happy to commit to the fight, right? Or for one player...
When it comes to these armies, there isn't really such a thing. I think in general, as this army is a lot better than the other army. I think they both have potential. It often just comes down to who gets the better engagement. Can Classic land fat storms? Can Classic land feedbacks? Or is it Serral who lands a big fungal and a big parabomb? And on top of that, who runs into who? I feel like whoever sets himself up strong defensively and kind of baits the other player to attack into them when the army naturally clumps up a bit more, it's always going to favor the defender. They can both win at this point. Like, there is no, it's not, oh, Serral always wins or Classic always wins. They can both win.
But his Zelnaga actually blocks the choke, so there's nothing on the ground that can just easily go between. It's all about the air. And speaking of, an abduct does come down. Storm tries to get some revenge, and it does injure a lot of Corruptors, but does not kill them. A mortal run by. Got to get rid of these units, and might as well try and kill a bunch of hatcheries with it. Actually, he's not going to let many of them go.
No, you don't want to just throw them all away. that's honestly a sick play to just split off 5 immortals, kill a hatchery, and recall. That's a really good play. But I'm happy to see you recall them, because that is way too important to keep alive. Because if you don't keep them alive, then you have nothing that kills the lurkers quickly. And if you have nothing that kills the lurkers quickly, the lurkers can move forward and get on top of the Archons and the High Templars. So you really want to keep a couple immortals around.
And so the immortals don't help you with that, really. They help you units on the ground, maybe help win in the sky to some extent, because like you said, they're good against the lurkers. We are going to see a bit of a fight here. Good fungal, and immediately the Broodlords catch a bunch of those High Templars. With that fungal coming through, we storm to try and play cleanup. And Classic tries to recover as again just Serral able to be the one making the catch. He keeps
I hope for them there is no hard exit at this Dallas Convention Center. I can tell you guys that in the past I've had ESL employees stressed like no tomorrow because they had to be done at 7 or they had to be done at 8. Otherwise they would have just turned off the electricity, or they would have to pay like an insane fee to keep the lights on. And you're talking about like $20,000 an hour that they would go past the promised time. I hope for them that's not the case today, because otherwise we might have to play the semis at once. 6 p.m. hard? Hey, they're gonna be in trouble. No, what's... Oh, maybe
it
it's
won't be
okay.
given up anyway without some consequence, because enough that defense to at least shoot through these lings, maybe not so much the lurkers. Classic redirects his attention over there, and I think he actually does.
It's all right.
To, so he wasn't sure
EWC will cover, right, guys?
Serral looking for the army in a bit of an awkward position. That's exactly
Time zone would be
at
at Texas time zone, Dallas. Local time, Dallas.
And that's maybe what we're going to expect for the
I think
next
Dallas
5
is
minutes.
-8 from me,
Both of
but
them
I'm not
trying to
100%
collect
certain.
1 or 2 units at a time before they really feel forced to take a final battle. There's that weakness I was pointing out earlier.
That's in 5 hours? Honestly, I'd be scared about that. They're gonna go past that, no? Actually, that's not true. 5 hours is a lot of time. They'll be okay. But if they also want to sneak in that... No, never mind. There's no qualifying. They'll be fine. 5 hours
And obviously,
is okay.
just one DT at a time is not going to be quick to kind of get the job done, as we do threaten
Yeah,
here. However, the
they'll be
Brewers are
alright,
going to
I
lag
think.
behind a little bit. That's why the rest of the army shows up from Serral, representing a true threat to Classic. So you can't just kind of waltz across and try and pick up some brutes freely. You're going to see a few Lings going to try and get down to that bottom left-hand base as well, where obviously there's still a couple of cannons. Not as many units as there used to be. A couple of storms, maybe overkill even. We do keep those couple of cannons alive as we're at the stage where there's money in the bank, but you kind of want to keep as much of that money as possible to really invest into a rebuild on the army, right? Like, you don't want to just spam out cannon after cannon after cannon, especially not on a base that doesn't have too much life left in it. This is where this map gets really interesting. I really thought Classic would have a much better time kind of fighting in this middle base and like fighting over the watchtower toward that hatchery of Serral, but he's so concerned and being kept so kind of to the bottom.
The new Basilisk member is Vincent Kamer. He's one of the absolute best chess players in the world. And hopefully he'll be representing us at EWC, even though EWC is obviously rapid and it's a bit different. We're gonna watch him in every single format, freestyle, classic. He's a really, really cool pickup. Super nice guy, obviously incredibly smart. He's still young, so he can get better. And he even won one of the freestyle championships earlier this year. So legit, an amazing signing if you ask me. Yeah, he's German, he's very sweet. I spoke to him a couple of times already. I think as good of a chess signing as I think we could have asked for, especially when you see obviously Magnus Carlsen is on Team Liquid and stuff, but very, very, very happy with Vincent. 10 out of 10 signing, I think.
If it just is out of minerals anyway, and then focus entirely on the middle of the map, which is really going to become the most important point. Seems like, yes, no.
Yeah, he beat Magnus in the finals, I think, of the freestyle chess tournament earlier this year. Obviously, Magnus is Magnus; he's the goat. But I love that
PVZ stage, so someone's going to have to break it eventually. Someone's going to have to make the move.
I hope eventually we can do like a little crossover with some of the Starcraft members and Vincent and some fun stuff. If obviously the Starcraft players have some time and Vincent has some time. But he really is an amazing signing.
Play that efficiency game that Serral is so confident in. Obviously see Classic wants to kind of step forward like I've been
40, thank you so much, 40, for the 93 months.
The Corruptors and the Vipers threaten. It can be very difficult as well.
31-minute game, guys. And at this point, I would almost say we ain't close to wrapping it up.
Difference. They're both mining out the same bases, which means that a similar resource loss right now. Again, just clarifying, it's going to come down to pretty much the next big fight. Likely will be different enough to give us a victor in this game. Well, very good idea who the victor's going to be. That's a mistake from Serral. Finally, a good catch from Classic as he gets multiple infestors on the feedback.
Yeah, they were full of energy.
I have White Sheet. He doesn't have the last one yet.
Although he does have 4,000 gas, so I guess he can have it happen maybe 2 or 3 more times. But then no more than that.
There's a whole bunch actually, mate. After the Phoenixes, there's a whole bunch of Akitas. Still baby stuff.
With how much gas is left.
I'm not even maxed out yet. I'm a couple months away from being maxed out, but I'm not maxed out yet.
They don't have a gas, so that's actually a really, really big concern if we're thinking far into the future, as no one's going to take a battle. And we're thinking of what is the gas bank going to be like?
Yeah, I come prepared, White Sheet.
And that's the
I came prepared, mate. But I do need to come up with something new. We have the R's, then we have the Phoenixes, and then we have the Akitas. And I need a new fourth whatever, but I still don't really know what I want to go for.
And had to retreat.
Yeah, Serral not having any success still bottom left side.
Because,
Safe over there, keeping that base online for its final bit of mining time. And you have those Felix on that right side again, just threatening, trying to catch some probes, transferring as well.
No. Andrew is very close. And also, just like if it's available, I want to have it, right? Because I think I'm one away from my absolute latest. I can show you guys. If there's a bit of downtime, we can go over it.
It is just this kind of stalemating moment. As actually Serral's out of position, so his forward base is going to go down. I don't think there's anything he can do to really just kind of capitalize on that. I mean, a few lurkers step onto the forward base of Classic, so maybe he actually will just get this base for a base.
I feel like we have way too many carriers, man. I'm just not a believer.
Yep.
Like, obviously, pure carrier can never do it. Maybe that mix of, like, carrier, Archon, Storm, Mothership, Tanky, whatever, but... Like, now Serral's got +3 carapace on his Corruptors. And Corruptors just don't take damage. With even upgrades, they just don't take damage.
Still too much stack defense with the Storm always available there too. The Classic. I mean, I want to say it's up to him to make the move, but obviously that's just not exactly true.
It's like a high school date. You go first.
In the 15 years of Starcraft too,
I saw a really funny clip yesterday. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these memes on like Instagram and TikTok, where like great assists happen, you know, for like a boy and a girl to do something, and then the Kevin De Bruyne highlight thing runs. There's like a girl and a guy, they're very close to each other, and then the dog just jumps forward on the dude's back, so he goes forward, and the girl's like, oh, as he kind of kissed him, and then the dog looks at the camera, and then the Kevin De Bruyne highlight reel starts. So like, when I saw it, I was laughing so hard. It was like legit the greatest assist I've ever seen.
I'm not actually sure we have
that doggo knew exactly what he was doing.
The beginning tempests are the most annoying, it feels like.
And now I'm running out of ad breaks already.
It is, as you said, is more about Serral anyway than it is Zerg. And the patience that is being displayed here by both players is amazing, but I gotta imagine Classic is like so many other Zerg players would have fallen at some point, or taken an atrocious fight, or just been too over-eager, and Serral is just never any of those things.
Credit to Classic, because he's also not had that moment where he's stepped too far forward and let the Zerg jump on him as well, right? So also able to stand up and keep himself in this game. The lurkers are going to get rid of this next.
I thought the first 20 minutes of this game were amazing. I always think late game PvZ becomes, I wouldn't say it's boring because it's obviously close, right? It's on a knife's edge, yada yada, but this is just not my favorite Starcraft. But because of the because of the implications and how important this series is, it's obviously still exciting. But I loved the first 20 minutes a whole lot more than I loved the last 15.
Yes, it absolutely would. Bottom left has taken down completely. And we're gonna have some long distance mining if it gets that far in this game. It does provide maybe another point of attack into Classic's fourth, I believe that was, the bottom left, which is also not important as far as the resources.
I mean, I do understand that he's overly careful. I think there was one moment where he killed like the top right after the counterattack. He really did have Serral on wobbly legs, but ever since the Corrupt count went up and the Spellcaster count went up, how many times have we seen Protoss players just kill basically nothing against 30, 40 Corruptors and a couple Fungals and a Parasitic Bomb? Because the carriers, they simply cannot attack, so then you're relying on 4 or 5 Archons to kill 25 Corruptors. Yeah, good luck, have fun.
What happens around that might seem not impactful, but it actually can be. I mean, if Classic is forced to take a fight and it's actually like really close, and then he goes back to build 4 templates at a time and realizes the Stargates are dead, I mean, that actually could be kind of big. You know, ditto on Serral if he ever loses any of his technology buildings, but that's just been less.
I feel like when it comes to proper late game past 30 minutes, for me the most exciting matchup is actually Protoss against Terran. Because I feel that Protoss often needs to keep on trading, and then Terran is still fighting everywhere, but it's not an easy victory for the Terran. I think TVZ can become a bit of too much of a turtle festival with too many planetaries and ghosts. And this matchup, yeah, it's basically like they're both afraid to engage. I think Protoss against Terran proper late game is the most exciting, even though you don't see it ultra often.
For Serral, we're going to get a couple of feedbacks. Multiple infestors going down. Great feedbacks from Classic. He eats a fungal in return, so he will lose some of these units. Some of these High Templars and the Archon will be going down. So nice grabs in return from Serral. A trade out on some of the gas units, and we have been talking about kind of who's going to...
Yeah, we have a mothership here though, right? There is a mothership.
Right? and it is less gas available.
I would agree. I'm not a mothership player, but I do think it's absolutely mandatory to have a mothership here.
So that might be a little bit closer kind of in terms of what we're rebuilding gas-wise. It's worth keeping in mind because it's going to be an important factor the deeper we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're going to get to my favorite.
Oh, he's
part
never out of
the
storms.
game.
If a Protoss is ever out of storms here, they're dead. You can never be out of storms in a 37-minute game.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Because you're
It's gonna
just
happen.
straight up dead.
Oh yes, the good old Zero showing up in front of the 40s.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes away, ZG.
I'm very excited because you know what? I don't know if they're really going to push into each other. Classic. Okay, any opportunity he gets to clear out spores and spines is still also nice, actually. So that's a nice push in that Serral isn't going to be able to respond to instantly, but he does at least continue denying this Nexus. Classic also supply blocks.
I think they're both running out of mining. There is not a whole lot of mining left to be done in a 38-minute game. Both of them are currently at +0 gas. Is Classic trying to send us a message? Is this the Illuminati?
I think it did. No, it didn't. I'm a master of trapping my probe, though.
I was gonna say that's the kind of move I can pull off for sure.
I think there is indeed no gas at all. Maybe like one destroyed gas bottom left somewhere, right, or top right. Still a little bit left, but there's definitely no healthy Vespian guy extractors, I guess we should call them, left.
I'm not really sure it's likely that either player will be attacking into static defense, because that's obviously the least desired thing if they are going to attack into it.
Yeah, I think the real advantage for Protoss normally in games like this is the double recall, right? Where you split up your army and you recall to one side and then you recall again and then Zerg is out of position and static defense can't do anything. Yeah, I think bottom left has a tiny bit of gas left and maybe top right, one of them.
But is it really going to be...
Oh, there are multiple ESL employees or DreamHack employees that are having a heart attack right now. They're looking at their watch, they're looking at this game. And they're like, alright, so we have at least 2 more semifinals and a final. Finals best of 7. This series ain't done yet. We need to be done at 6 p.m. What if the real reason they want to get rid of Starcraft is because we give them too many fines? Our days are too long.
Aye, aye, aye. Going to matter later in the game like the gases. So any value you find with Lings is going to go a long way. As we do have a couple of temper shots as we threaten the idea of attacking over on the right-hand side here. Again, 0 gas mining for both players at this point of the game. It has gotten to zeros for Classic as well. He had a little bit left before, now nothing at all. And again, we still just try and retake this base in the center to have access to more minerals, which means more zealots if we get there.
I think this is the time.
Yeah, I find DTs indeed a little bit questionable. You can obviously morph them into Archons and then it's okay. But when you have 1600 gas left to literally win this game, I don't think we should be building too many DTs.
I think he's going to start morphing in DTs for Archons too. I think that was just defensive DTs, but they are a little less gas intensive than High Templars. Just a little change ups you have to make the longer the game goes. But, you know,
That is true, trap win. Just make sure you don't lose them, right? You don't lose them and then you morph them into Archons successfully, sure.
And then they're going to just reposition and not
as long as they can
actually
actually morph.
Fight, which is just what we keep on expecting to have happen. So yeah, the expectations are very much still being met. They understand how this matchup works. We've seen it a lot of times.
Guys, soon there will be zeros in front of the clock, which has to do with the old Blizzard time that was faster than actual time. We're 2 minutes away from zeros appearing. Very exciting.
For the fight to really kind of
Zombie Grub loves it as well. He's gonna hype it up.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah. When Serral gets to the final form of Zerg, which when he still wasn't there was the scariest part, then absolutely. It's when they're missing maybe the Vipers or obviously like positioning.
Sometimes you see video gamers who absolutely crush a tournament. They sun run, they show up, they win everything. And you're like, man, that was easy money. And then you see them go through this and like, whatever they're making is not enough. This is some real tough manual labor.
Situations, long turtle games, where it's not in the best interest to attack into the other person. Whoever attacks first is going to be naturally more clumped up, just the way that StarCraft units move. They're going to be, they're going to be able to, the opponent is going to be able to
So it's actually a good question, Phil. And I think that has to do with maybe Serral playing a lot of games against MaxPax, where MaxPax is incredibly good in splitting up his army. And then if you have 20 Spore Crawlers somewhere, the Protoss is just going to recall their entire army to where that's not it. And then you can't really get any value out of it. So maybe that's why. I still think it would make sense to get a little bit more, but perhaps He just wants to mine out the mineral lines first, because he still has some drones, right? The last thing you want to do is rebuild some drones. I don't think it would hurt to get a bunch of spores. I don't think spines are necessary, but spores would be useful.
That would be amazing.
But I guess Serral feels that he can't really force the fight to happen in a specific location.
Of where we end up at, like you say, maybe a few minutes down the line from here. Tell you what, Serral is doing a great job of hitting with those lings on the other side, by the way. So he's continuing to put a lot of pressure on these lings. Just finding pylons, you know, things that actually Classic may need to rebuild. And taking away pylons kind of controls, so Classic is really just sitting in the middle of the map. And there's a point where Classic may not be able to spend the rest of his money because that main base on that natural with his production in may eventually get broken through. And then you start losing your production and you don't really have the money.
I mean, neither of them can replace the army they're currently working with. 3,000 gas is not a whole lot. You can build 14 Corruptors, that is it. 1,500 gas is close to nothing. You get a couple Storms, that is it. So the army that they currently have is the army they're going to have to win this game with.
Yeah, totally unnoticed in the beginning 40 to 2 minutes of this game. No worries. But yes, this is the point that I was trying to make, 5 minutes ago. It's
The
like,
clock,
yeah, this
the
basic
clock,
doesn't
guys.
matter, but
Should
it
be happening right now.
sense
No?
They are the domino. The first domino falls, second one falls.
Where's the
10 minutes
zeros?
later, but
They
still
should
it
come.
falls. And then suddenly your
There we go.
production is actually going to
There's
be a
the zero.
problem. What do? Do you
Hype.
just stay
And the
on
Dallas
your
crowd goes wild.
production that is expensive. Gateway, Cybernetics Core, then the Stargate, then the Fleet Beacon, and then Twilight Council and Templar Archive, because you still want to be able to make all of these units here. That's a lot. That's not something that Classic can do, so he still has to worry about
Is
his
this
main
the
base.
final? No.
Yeah, he really
Not
has
even
to,
close, mate.
really does have to worry about that in class. Serral, 3,000 gas left still. Long distance mining some extra minerals because
I really love being in the second series of the day and being all out of snoozes. So now eventually we're going to have some ads run in the middle of a game and people are going to be very angry at me. Cool. Welcome back to Twitch. I love it.
He's going to start stepping forward.
Thanks, video gamers.
Pull back, and we're just going to have a new little kind of ping pong effect going on.
Oh yeah, look at that hour digit, guys. I'm pushing my imaginary glasses up because I didn't wear them today. But guys, Brood War was played on fastest when actually it was supposed to be played on faster. So thus, the time was always wrong in Brood War. And StarCraft 2 kept that, except for Legacy of the Void, where they said, we don't want that anymore, we want real time. And people said, I guess we don't really care anymore, so go ahead, make it real time. And Blizzard said, A-okay. And then forgot to change the appearance of the hour, because this is when an hour would exist in Wings of Liberty.
If I had a penny for every single time I heard Zombie Grub hype up this story, I would have around 7 pennies, which is not a whole lot, but it's funny that I would have 7.
Thank you, Blizzard.
My favorite part was when the, the side pop-up upgrades, like upgrade countdowns, they were in Blizzard seconds as well for such a long time too.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, good times, good times. It's still not actually totally true. Yeah, it's still not totally true time, I believe, but it's much closer than comparing, fast and fastest.
Crazy.
I think so. I think.
Are we
someone-
gonna fight,
yeah,
guys?
it's
What the hell? Kind of feels like I'm watching a UFC main event. And for four and a half rounds right now, they have been hugging each other to the fence. And the crowd full of overweight dudes eating Doritos and drinking beers. Like, come on, fight! Fight! Come on, ref! Stand them up and fight!
anyone else?
Oh yeah, I love when we get to these kind of games where we just get stuck. Usually it's a TVT that gets us CG, but today the PVZ has trapped us in the ever going on of nothingness.
Well, when all of our Terran players are playing Protoss against each other, it's less likely.
Thank you, by the way, to Esper for the 26 months. I appreciate it.
Opportunities in this game, and Serral had to really clutch a few fights to even kind of get to this sort of a point. And now here we are, 45 minutes deep with both of these guys a fight away from being up 2-1. And,
If I'd have to guess, I'd say it's around 14 to 16 carriers. Haven't seen it in a while, but I'd say 14 to 16, give or take. I don't believe in it. I really don't believe in carriers unless they have an upgrade advantage. But I've already been wrong twice today, so this could be a third.
I feel like it's such a factor as these lings honestly are one of the biggest issues right now.
The problem is that I 100% agree with
Somebody have hiccups?
the players are really important here, because going back to Scarlet Neeb, 100%. When Neeb finally won an hour-and-a-half long game, Scarlet was like, I hate you, I hate this, and would just all in the next game, and it was brilliant.
Isn't Neeb the guy who lost to that Dutch commentator once upon a time 2-0 in an online qualifier for a DreamHack? Is it that guy?
patient
Legend, by the way.
that I could
Both of
see
them.
them doing it again. Particularly because I feel like what's also clashing is Serral late game is frustratingly good. So maybe Classic if he loses here. But if Serral were to lose,
Seems that some minor internet issues right now, right?
Because Protoss is the scariest when they get to late game, supposedly. But, you know,
He sounds really cool,
Serral
Sybil.
apparently doesn't care about that.
To do that as a commentator against one of the foreign
All the math
goats.
here that I'm saying is that
Impressive.
Serral is the one that's scariest. If Serral wins, I feel like Classic should be very scared.
What's the plan here? The plan is for Serral to land some sick fungal Parabomb, but above all, like Neuros, but above all, good Parabomb. Put all the Corruptors on top of the carriers. 15 carriers, by the way. I said 14 to 16, so that was an excellent guess. Ideally, fight whenever the Archons are not right underneath the carriers. And then I think Serral wipes the floor with this army. This is the fist of Yona against the fist of Classic. But I really do believe more in 3-3 Corruptors than I believe in 15 carriers. But Roddy, if you don't believe in them, why did Classic build 15 carriers? Do you really think you know better than him? No, I don't, guys. I don't know better than him. And I'm sure there's a reason why he's done this. And I would love to see him prove me wrong. Like, he's dreaming of a sick time warp, sick storm, sick feedbacks. Somehow winning. But I think the Zerg army is better here and has more potential.
Gone down to less than 1,000 gas left. If there's a player bleeding out, it is him. I mean, Serral's at 2.4k. I do think that number's decreasing.
Yeah, that's what I think as well, Reynor. I do think that he's just going to lose. And then people are like, what the fuck, Protoss is weak. It's like, well, there was a time that carriers were really good. But carriers got nerfed a couple times. And now carriers, I still think they can be good, but only if you are ahead in upgrades. By the way, I'm all out of snoozes, and there's going to be ads in 5 minutes. I know you guys will never forgive me if ads play during the fight that we've been waiting for 54 minutes, but I can't do anything. It's on Twitch.
Lings might be trying to.
Oh my
The
god.
other alternative is I actually would not mind 40 cracklings,
Look,
but you can't afford.
I'm out of
supply-wise,
snoozes.
but a lot of
4 minutes and
cracklings
38
trying to kill the
seconds.
bases here for the.
What I can do, by the way, guys, is get
Yes,
the
but also
official link ready.
potential
Actually, give me a sec.
Matrix aspect. That last building death. If the Lings take out the
Can
natural
somebody,
Classic is literally
wait,
down
do
to
I
his
have the
face.
link here?
He never can move. And you know, he would
Don't
know
dare,
that.
no, I don't
He could
want-
also try and snipe the Nexus.
Oh!
We're getting a real fight.
Oh!
Right, so we're actually going to have
Hello?
an adventure right here. Fungals went down. Serral kind of liked the situation. Storms begin to drop onto the Corruptors all over the place. Mothership going down. A lot of the aliens from Classic disappearing. Serral's supply dropping as well. Storms keep on landing. Those Corruptors are very low.
The Archons are in a pretty good spot, to be fair.
There are a lot of air units remaining right now for Classic. His Archon's still hanging out. Is it going to be enough? Does Classic have anything left over?
It just feels that
Apparently
Corruptors are not
42
dying.
Lings and 18 new Corruptors on the way for Serral. So even if he doesn't quite win it here,
The 18 Corruptors.
get it done as Serral
Yeah,
just
well.
finds the fight he's looking for.
It's kind of what Reynor just said, guys. We've seen this a million times.
Nice.
No, Classic
There's
ain't
a
winning.
joke
Classic is
somewhere in
mega
there
dead.
about-
Classic is mega dead.
It's a 50-minute game, and I think we might have it done. As you're right, Serral got the really good remax. The Fungals even helping out as the Stalkers try to get a remax. Try and go for that. I mean, it's desperate. It's the only thing you can afford. But also, there is sometimes the ability to max out on ground and have a good game. This is not one of those situations. Broodlord still exists. The Lings are still pretty good.
Corruptors
Fungals are
5
pretty good,
carriers, though.
and the Corruptors will overwhelm this guys.
Honestly, there was a moment where I really did believe that actually, like, there was going to be a chance for the
There's a lot of ground right now, by the way, guys. And Serral's kind of out of money. There is a lot of ground for Classic.
Really kind of run a
These
number.
final Broodlords are so important.
The ground
Guys?
army is fairly respectable at the
Is there a
moment.
chance the
Is there a
ground army
chance for
wins?
the ground army? There's only 3 Broodlords
Did we
left.
overbuild
CG,
Corruptors
2
in the
Archons, a
remix?
few Stalkers, gonna try and
Broodlords?
get in
Ah,
underneath that, try and
Fungal,
take down whatever we can.
something!
We want to get rid of those Broodlords.
Oh my god.
There's a half a chance for Classic. I'm believing.
What?
It's
Look at that.
actually-
Oh my god.
the Broodlords are
Transfuse.
not so untouched.
Ah,
The Fungals
transfuse.
have not
Fungal.
saved the lash.
Oh
We
my
need this
god.
Broodlord so
Kill
bad.
the
Oh my god, is
Broodlord.
Classic doing it?
No, the Corruptors. The
What is
Corruptors
happening?
don't win the
Oh,
game.
one Brood.
Classic
One
manages
Brood.
to win this. The transfuse
Oh my god.
saved.
Oh my god, the one
One Brood.
the Broodlord anymore. It's out of
Burrow.
trying to chase Classic.
Oh
has to
my
step
god.
back. There's one Broodlord at the moment. The money is pretty
Oh
much
my
all gone.
god.
The ground army is good here for Classic. I mean, I guess Serral can just go across the map and caustic spray and start to win a base trade. There's the one Broodlord. He is the one with the dream right now. There's a
It's a
couple of
Broodlord
enemies
against an
nearby,
Archon.
and the Nexus for the moment is going to live as well.
Draw?
What is going on?
Is there a world where this is a draw?
Oh no, Serral doesn't have enough ground.
No, Serral has literally one. It's one Brood.
He's gonna abduct there. He's gonna abduct on the height.
If the Archon kills the Broodlord, it's over.
The Archon is gonna make
Oh, the Queens! It was bait! It was bait! It was bait! Oh, one Brood! One Brood! Oh, no, Broodlord! What the fuck is happening?
The Zealots and the Immortals need to get rid of those.
Oh my god.
Once this Archon is
Kill it!
recall the Archon. He
Oh
knows
my
how
god.
important it is. It's coming down to 1.
Guys, 90 seconds and there are ads and there's nothing I can do about it. I've used all 3 pauses. I'm sorry.
Silly. Oh, Classic can't get any more gas. He can't build more than one Archon.
Yeah, if he builds a War Prism, it's over.
Boy.
It's literally one Archon versus a Broodlord versus.
Serral's building 2 Zerglings, by the way.
That is what it is.
I mean, we need to keep some units near.
Anybody, VIP, admin, please post the link where people can watch without ads. Anything, official stream, other stream, doesn't matter. Any stream. No! No, get it! He must have a robo, no?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, that's
the
true,
Zealots
actually.
can start killing the
Nah, it's too many corruptors. You guys are right, sorry. You guys are right.
The Viper.
Yeah.
Trying to save its life. Not gonna save its
That is
life.
true.
This Archon is
We have 2 Zerglings. No recall available right now. Oh, the Zerglings died.
2-minute game on its own.
Can the Broodlord win the fight against the Archon?
There's the Broodlord right there. Classic wants it. He may be able to go for the cannons again. Jumped on at the
There's
same
2
time.
links. Look at the 2 links.
There's a couple
The 2 links are gonna be so goated.
Changeling Wolf. Use him to block out this. Okay, he's not even using him. The Broodlord survives. It's okay.
I cannot
Look, it's
believe
the
this
high
entire
ground.
game comes down to
Archon
this.
T-Rex arms. Too weak. Corruptors gonna pee on all the buildings.
The
Classic
speedy
has to worry
Broodlord.
about that. He's got enough for 2 assimilators.
Is there a world where this is actually a draw?
Assimilators, they're all mined out.
Because the Archon does not want to expose itself to the Broodlord.
So, that one
There is 0 resources left on the map. There is just nothing to mine anymore.
from just clearing up everything.
I think there is a world where Classic does not want to
Of Serral having cleaned up
go too deep with the Archon. Because obviously the Archon cannot jump over a ledge and cannot fight a Broodlord near that airspace. And he will never take the risk of losing this one
we just gotta send these Zealots around.
Broodlord. And the Archon might have to stay at home as well to defend against the Corruptors, no?
Yeah, they can't attack ground units.
Very, very, very few spines. There were a couple spores, but very few.
Important thing. We are getting down to the very basics of Starcraft. Whoever has the last building is the winner. The Zealots and Immortals starting to pick through.
Do you think that Serral kills all the buildings before Classic kills all the buildings?
Trying to save them from minor Zealot pushes. The Corruptor's spray is going to be on cooldown. You gotta wait for that, and there's still a lot of buildings to kill there too. But
I don't know.
don't help. They just
2 Immortals, 16 Zealots. They kill buildings real quick. I think Protoss always kills quicker
The
here.
hatchery.
Nah, Protoss always kills everything quicker. It's about the Broodlord.
Anywhere else?
The Brood. Oh my god.
I mean, this is
The most boring game ever became the 6th game ever.
gonna pick a different building.
I
I mean, can they? Cause
kill
that's
the
enough.
Archon.
This is getting
Hey,
extremely close.
maybe we can get Broodlings from an Evo chamber. And guys, we can kill the Archon, no?
Right now, the Archon is gonna maybe try and get his chance.
I think we're gonna
to
get
take
it.
that Broodlord
I think
down,
Serral
but
might
Serral
win.
micros it away as this is just full on time to get
Broodlings
rid of as
on
many
the
structures as
Archon.
we can as soon as possible. Classic.
Oh
doesn't
my
have
god.
anything. He has a few minerals remaining. He walked in Zealots instead
Ah,
of going for maybe like a pylon
Micro!
somewhere else. like a
Broodlord,
PO,
no!
then
Show the
he goes down
Broodlord!
with the
Fucking
Corruptors.
observer!
I mean, this is
Who
actually
the hell's
close.
observing
Go,
this
go,
shit?
Go. That one Broodlord is still trying to buy time as the Zealots move up into the main base. Classic has not rebuilt his base. He has been revealed. His last structures are going to get peed on very shortly, but he's on the last bases or last structures of Serral.
Yeah, he is. I think Classic wins this. The Corruptors,
Sorry?
their cooldown.
No,
is too
I
long.
don't know.
Oh my god, the Ray Spy is going to go down. The Extractor on the
Is
low
the
ground
Archon
goes
going home?
down.
Where's the
I
Archon?
mean,
Is
Corruptors
it healing
are
up
big one
somewhere?
build in each of them. The Zealots are going
Two
out to the main
Zerglings.
base. Do we have any surprise?
Reynor and
buildings?
Serral
On the
became
map,
links.
Broodlord trying to get
The
rid of some
boys.
of
Oh, the Archon is back. The Archon. Oh my god, he wins.
Nemesis, it goes down finally.
Oh my
And the last
god.
couple of structures. Can we get
That's
rid of
it?
them?
I think Classic has
The
it.
Spore crawl over here. I mean, Serral has no base, so he'll be revealed very soon. The Spore's
Classic
gonna get
has
jumped
it.
on. I don't think we've got anything else, right? One Spore left in the game.
He can just recall the Archon, no?
See it.
Oh.
He doesn't know.
Oh my god.
Classic! Classic is
No.
revealed.
Serral's revealed. Serral's revealed.
That's the information.
Seen
That's
it.
the information.
Aye.
He sees
He
it.
knows.
He sees,
He sees it now.
He's got
That
buildings
is
left
it.
over. Classic going for the win in 56 minutes.
Oh
His last
my
structures
god.
are alive, and GG gets called. Classic will kill the Spore and win game 3.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
how? How in the world does this happen?
Wow.
That is insane. That is insanity. Serral
How is this man still wearing his jacket? I'm sweating in my shirt over here.
Get enough buildings killed. What the heck?
This has Game of the Year written all over it. I mean, one Archon versus...
I mean, we had that massive fight in the middle. I mean, this game was obviously mega, because obviously Serral could have already been dead here. But Serral just rebuilt a few too many Corruptors. He had a bank. We pointed out that he had like 3k gas. He made 18 Corruptors extra. In the end, like 10 to 12 Corruptors would have already been more than enough. And then we would have been fine against a couple Stalkers and a couple of Zealots that classic rebuild. Wow.
Have done the trick. He would have killed the Archon, and then 3 Broodlords.
Yeah, he just like in the Remax, after that final fight in the center, it just made a few too many Corruptors.
It just couldn't do enough damage. That is a big difference maker.
I cannot believe this one Archon. This Archon deserves a fucking statue.
I mean, absolutely. Just absolute...
yeah, one more Broodlord.
Game that heartbeats are going to be racing because that was obviously an insane end, and they've been tense the entire time, right? Like they've been on the verge of winning or losing.
What a sick game!
For a hot second, and
like 20 minutes of basically nothing, but you forget about that real quick when the ending is so fucking good, and the first 20 minutes were so freaking good. I'll take the 25 minutes of nothing for granted.
The late game where usually he is victorious, but not on this one.
No, I mean, I hate to see that last fight again. We need it.
Yeah.
It was a 17-minute fight, so we got another 30 minutes of highlights to get through.
No.
Well, it gives the players a good chance.
This is it.
As,
okay,
this is it. Yeah, I mean, this is the fight we want to see again. I mean, it was not a bad call for Serral.
Honestly, the Archons felt like they were in a good spot on the bottom right side of the Nexus.
It did feel as though like the storms were hitting big. I felt a lot of the Corruptors were going to die, and obviously the Broodlords were going untouched. So if you have those left over, it really does stop the kind of the ground unit rebuild. But yeah, I mean, we never expected it to come down to one Archon chasing down.
Like now the production tab shows us 18 Corruptors, and yeah, we needed like 12, 14 max.
I mean, to get focused down here, the Stalkers giving their lives for the greater good, truly. They got a couple of Broodlords for finally getting fungled and forced back. And then the Carriers with like some of their last Interceptors maybe also got a Broodlord. I mean, how did we get down to 1 Broodlord is my question. 1 Broodlord, nothing but Corruptors.
Just 4 Broodlords were there and we went in. That Archon getting the Broodlord kill.
It was so close once or twice as well with getting that Archon. And if Serral kills that Archon, he's over. Let's not forget that he also lost that Viper, right, at one point. Imagine if we would have been able to keep the Viper alive and you land a Blinding Cloud or you land an Abduct. Oh, what a game. Hello, Serral. Alright, I'm gonna go take a restroom break as well. I'm sorry about the ads that I think played somewhere towards the end. That's really annoying, but yeah. Used all 3 pauses. Should have run ads before the game. Once an hour you need to run ads. And I didn't do it. And we got punished. Are we safe now? Yeah. Sick game though. At least we're good for another hour. I'm not here to run ads, but I'm definitely also here to not see ads play during the freaking game. Unfortunate, but not on purpose. Wow, guys, classic now one. I mean, you almost forget about it, right? When you're watching such a crazy game and it comes down to literally 2 units battling each other. Well, there's also a base trade happening. This means classic is 1 map away from qualifying for EWC, and that would obviously have very big implications on everything that's happening in the upcoming month. Think of the European qualifiers. Think of Korean qualifiers. Damn. Let's take a look at the local time of Dallas. Local time. Holy smokes. They've got 5.5 hours to... Yeah, they'll be fine, I think. They'll be okay. That's not too bad. Sick game. Thank you to Watch Lulu. Thank you to DJot as well. Thank you to my man Tobias and Sybil and Mr. Shine. I appreciate all of you guys. I'll take a little break and I'll be back for game 4. Honestly, it's a sick day so far. I've been gone for 3 weeks. I come back and we're watching 2 amazing series immediately back to back. I also really enjoyed Maru against Hero. I'll see you guys soon. Damn.
We are back after a ridiculous ending to Game 3 of Serral versus Classic in the quarterfinals of the Road to EWC at DreamHack Dallas for Starcraft 2. And Wardy, joined by Zombie Grub, we're back. We lost our minds partway through that game because, you know, you're stuck in a game, nothing's happening for so long. But then it gave us one of the greatest endings we've seen in a StarCraft 2 game in a very long time. One Archon carrying the Protoss race on his back and giving Classic the lead of this best of 5.
Yes, pretty important lead there. Both players not guaranteed into EWC as of yet. One player going to get it with this best of 5. But, you know, for that type of game, would Classic, you know, if he had lost that, would he have felt then that the late game was not an option for him? It was one of the questions we were asking in the game itself. You know, you might get that advantage when your Tempest first appear, and he was bullying Serral a little bit, but then Serral literally brought it to the very final moments, so you still have to be mostly concerned about being Serral and not necessarily about the PvZ meta. But he won that game, and now that gives him a little bit of flexibility. He can say, okay, I could go into the late game again. I could be comfortable with that, or I could actually, of course, try and end it beforehand, which might be a little more preferable. And in the top right now, up 1, he is Classic.
On the bottom left-hand side, our blue Zerg play from BASILISK looking to bring us back to a 2-2 scoreline. It is Serral. You know, you say he can go into the late game again. Do you think he wants to go late game again when it came down to like one Archon versus a Broodlord?
I can't believe that, guys.
I think that's still, you know, if you can't sit back and remember, I feel like still the moment of which the Tempest first appeared.
After a 55-minute game, I'm okay with missing 45 seconds of game 4, guys. It's all right, no worries. That's what we have Wardy and Zombie Grub for.
Just to a win. It was Serral's really great fight with the fungal surprise that I think made Classic have to step back and say, oh, okay, this is not my time to truly shine. Like, I still have to worry about all of the late game Zerg that exists, which frankly just a lot of other ZVPs that get a little bit later into the game aren't getting to that fully maxed out, perfected Zerg army. The Zergs are either not willing to add on those spellcasters because, you know, the resource strain, the amount of action that's going on, they'll see that the timing of it. Some do not believe in their abilities, really, like with feedback having the range that it does.
Now we're gonna probably have even less downtime, by the way, because they're gonna be worried that they won't finish in time. Hello with me. Oh my god. That's a great picture, man. I've never seen this picture, I think.
Absolutely a big opportunity for Classic before all of those are added on. Even during our,
I'll show it after this game. That's cute. How many years ago is this? Homestead Cup 10?
The jump on Classic a little more often.
When was that?
That's very true. It really was a couple of very clutch fights.
7 years ago? 10 years ago?
Slightly not as good for him. He was already in trouble.
Honestly, I think I look better now.
Choice from Classic, so it is going to open back into that Oracle most likely, unless he wants to try and mix in a Void Ray or so. That is an option, but the less popular one. As the probe gets chased away by a couple of Zerg lanes, and again, always so hit to reset.
We aged like fine wine, mate. It's gotta lose a couple kilograms, that's all.
Adepto coming onto the map, and that will try and get across to Poke and Prod for some worker kills.
As usual, it seems like the players are actually quite comfortable getting into the next game. We didn't see, you know, shaking out the hands, I suppose, the arms, and
I wonder if it's chilly in the convention center, because I cannot imagine that you would want to wear a jacket after a game like that.
Well-deserved 5-minute break for sure. So they might have already reset a little bit their expectations.
Yeah, Flash was at Homestead Cup 10. The finals was Flash parting. You know what I will always remember about that? Is that back then, Parting was one of the first players to walk in range of a Widowmine and then try to drag the Widowmine on the Terran army with a Stalker. And we were all so impressed when it worked. Because the Terrans, they were not really thinking about that being a play. And enemies never really thought of that play. And that was so impressive back then. And now you see that at 5k MMR, right? Where people try to drag the Widowmine shot. And we even criticize the Terran if they don't prevent it, if they don't retarget or they don't on-burrow. And back then that was mind-blowingly good. So that's for me a very funny memory of Homestead Cup 10. Exactly, he walked the Stalkers forward on top of the Terran army and he blinked back, and then the Widowmines fired at the Terran army. We're like, oh my god! And now that's like so common.
Other names out there in the world in the past of StarCraft 2, which would have been incredibly eager not to go into any type of game like that. But even though Classic ended up victorious, and he kind of
Also, the birth of the McDonald's story with In Control.
certainly nothing as far as the first 3 base
Well,
technology.
what a memorable weekend.
The slight difference is the once again.
It was really good, Leroy. I promised I would talk about it whenever there is no game going on. Unfortunately, we just have games all the time. But we have plenty of time to talk about it in the upcoming days until TwitchCon starts.
Position, it put Serral into a really weird place where he wasn't prepped for it. He took a lot of damage, he lost a lot of workers, and he was left in a position where he wasn't even strong enough to really go for the counter-attack kind of play from it, right? So that's when you know it's really effective, because the Zerg didn't even have that. Well, at least you gave up all your adepts. I'm going to hit you in the face with everything now. When that's not a viable option, they have to drone up. It really does feel like the Protoss benefits from that, so we'll see. It is obviously a risk doing the same things 2 times in a row, just to kind of, Serral may just be a bit more prepared, is a bit more on his mind. He might be able to get the couple of tells going a bit early and get the preparations a little bit better set up. And he's actually going to be Blink here from Classic, so we'll see him just playing a bit more standard. Do not lose the Oracle, my goodness. Right now he goes down.
I don't. Yeah, the Adepts are going to actually catch Serral off guard here. And yeah, Classic might be playing that Blink and the +1. But a little worried about what these Adepts can still do, even without the Resident Glaives. Yes, getting into the natural, no block there. And the Lings, not enough anyway, but they also didn't get a Serral.
Excellent pull, though.
This is going to be a lot of lost mining time. Yeah. It looks like Serral will do well. Yeah, spoke too soon. I was going to say keep the drones alive, but obviously the Adepts did not have to shade, and Serral predicted it.
Yeah, this is real bad, man. 7 drones going down is pretty darn serious damage. A Stasis Ward very well dealt with by Serral, so keeping on top of it while defending. Second Stasis Ward going to be a little bit better, though. Gets a few more drones caught, so Oracle's been effective. Oh my goodness.
This is not too good, guys. Already did a little bit Zephalon, but yes, willing to talk about that stuff, as I feel like that's a bit more game related. I'm really sad about it, and I did not know. Really, really sad about it, but I covered it a bit earlier. But, we'll talk about it when it's not like game 4 of a series and Serral's life is on the line.
To attack in the third. Now with the Oracle there and the Stalkers having a wall up against their back, which means that there just was, the surplus of Lings, kind of reaction to the Adepts that did get in and did cause all this direct damage, also causing a bit of indirect. These Lings, if they had known, perfect play, maybe they're extra drones instead, but yeah, no, the drones are only just coming through. We're all keeping a relatively equal level of workers, so it's really not devastating.
Honestly, what a sick best of 5 so far by a Classic. No matter what happens, whether he brings it home or not, he is playing exceptionally well. I'm very, very impressed. Did not think he was going to play this good.
And you know exactly what's on the way. Serral was able to deflect the last push out with the Stalker Storm in the last game, and then everything else happened, but did struggle against it and its speed, I suppose, in the second game of the day. Another good stasis trap. Serral was distracted, looking elsewhere.
Yona is looking a little more vulnerable here in the early game than he normally does. Maybe that 55-minute or whatever game it was drained him a little, perhaps a little frustrated. Because now it's just a few times that the stasis is connected in a slightly bigger way than we normally expect them to. And that it happened when a bunch of Adepts are still around is one thing, but this one should normally not go off like that. I watched very little, Leroy. I followed everything very closely, the results. I fell asleep at one point in my flight home last night. It's a good one. So obviously I missed some of the results. But I've basically been a Liquipedia and Discord fan. But I've seen very little actual gameplay.
Into the main as the contamination available if he wants to try and slow something down. Charge could be a good slowdown on the Twilight.
I mean, this honestly looks scary, especially after realizing what happened on Ultra Love. But we have a couple Banelings, guys. We have a couple Banelings. High Templars. Get the High Templars.
Storms from the bottom. Now a couple of storms on the top. The High Templars morph into Archons. I feel like there's a lot of Lings left.
I think we're okay. I think we're okay on Serral's side.
This is actually very dangerous for Classic, who once again moved into a
This was similar to what he tried to do on Ultra Love, but on Ultra Love there were no Banes, and it seems like the Banelings really do make all the difference in a hold like this. Very, very strong defense by Serral.
But he had great positioning. Those storms did not find the effectiveness
Oh,
they
that's
wanted.
-3 Stalkers.
Did not have the room to breathe, to blink back, and then decide to re-engage later on. Serral made sure that if he was going to take a fight, he was going to nip it in the bud. He was going to take care of it, truly send it back. The counterattack cannot happen. Classic is going to be able to defend the Fairness advantage. This is still a Serral victory, right? He took on the fight. He reduced the army count of Classic, all while Classic was not getting a 4th base. And that is what's really scary about this game right now. Classic woefully behind as far as the pacing. Serral now comfortable, 4 bases, 81 drones high.
Buckle up and enjoy the upcoming 55 minutes.
All the things. Whereas Classic has some.
Yeah, I also received a few DMs right after Battle Aces made the official announcement from David Kim and a couple of the other guys that work for Tencent. And they said, thank you, Roddy, for your ongoing support and love to Battle Aces. We really appreciated it. Unfortunately, yada yada. It made me even more sad. They were all super nice folks, too. I really like David Kim. It's sad. It really is sad. I'm not surprised about some RTS projects being canned and not continuing, but I did not expect that one.
And start to feel a little bit more secure here on Tokamak with that base count in the near future.
Classic's not down and out, but he should know that he's in a very uncomfortable position. We didn't see the highlight lurkers in the last game. You know, they had a little bit of an opportunity to get across the map and try.
Yeah, David Kim is free to go wherever, but I'm not gonna tell you guys what he said to me because that's obviously private. But it does not seem that that something like that is going to happen. And also, Blizzard has no desire at all to make Starcraft 3 at the moment. They've got no one. It would legit take, at this point, at least 7 years, I think, to make a Starcraft 3. If they ever want to do it.
When he's not already making his way up to a fleet beacon. Best thing that Classic can do is try and poke and prod and then keep track of the lurkers so that they never just pop up, surprise him on a, well, not a fourth. Not the fourth that's done. Another cancel on that one.
Yep. They did outsource some projects, but that is definitely not StarCraft 3. That is not going to be the successor of the game we're currently watching. I'll guarantee you guys that. It seems like that is going to be a completely different genre. They just use the StarCraft IP. I don't know about this attack.
Classic's going to attack into these few lurkers here. Good storm's going down, to be fair, and I actually
think
it's a good identification that he actually had a chance to fight.
The Lynx, though. The Lynx coming in from the top is so big. Because the Archons were a bit too far forward. That is mega by Serral, because he was actually in a bit of trouble there.
The ending, which was not as great as now. Some zealots do get on the other side as well, though, and that's where the warpins are coming from to keep some pressure going.
Yes, Serral doesn't quite have the mobile army for the amount of zealots here, but he is.
I believe they started working on StarCraft 2 very shortly after Frozen Throne was released.
Progress up to Stargates, but he needs to replace a ground army and he needs to build an air army. And that is difficult to do when your fourth base is only just now completing at 12 minutes.
Yep.
At the rate of AI development.
The problem. See, if you had a fourth behind this, I'd feel so good for Classic right now. Those denials from
don't know how good AI is in making an RTS. Perhaps.
On the drone stacking on their extractors there, right? So
AI is just scary to me, man.
Which can come into play.
It just started with talking to Siri, asking a couple questions. Haha, so funny. If you see what's possible now, it scares the shit out of me. I'm not.
Classic for as much as possible, getting to that more comfortable state of Tempest in this game against the lurkers.
I'm suddenly starting to see why I feel like we have never connected within the intergalactic species. You know, that theory about like the Great Wall, starting to believe it.
But he is still going to get that time just because the Tempests are so late and the overall supply here from Classic is now where you'd want it to be. Even a stasis trap helping out, providing force fields so the rest of the units couldn't go through even if they wanted to. Hydra Frenzy's on the way. Corruptors too, yeah, so he's going to have that answer to Corruptor. The
great filter.
A little bit more well-timed. And it's a question of whether Serral can continue controlling Classic on 4 bases now that he finally has it. The Zealots going into Serral's third, going to try and find some damage, even a little bit of distraction. Serral not pulling his army back as fast. The Classic also handling Fade Links at the third base. Some connections, not all of them. And 9 probes do go down there, and an Immortal also looks like it's going to fall. Nope, Shield Battery should save it.
Yeah, Battery's going to save it right there. It's actually not too bad for Classic overall. 9 probes could have been a whole lot worse. As he is indeed going to be able to kind of stabilize. Honestly, I'm
expecting this game to slow down a little bit and just continue for a long time. And then I'm very curious if once more it's going to be a carrier game, or if we just kind of stick to the Immortal, Tempest, Archon, Mothership army. That's what I'm starting to believe as well, Irapi. In the past, I didn't really think, but right now I'm starting to become a big believer.
We are in a position now where, well, you know, there's Corruptors on the way up, so Serral is really just getting to that Corruptor Lurker combo.
The Void Ray comment is interesting, Dave, because if I think back of Gamers 8, so not even EWC last year, but Gamers 8, Classic had some absolutely phenomenal late-game engagement with Void Rays. Like, better than I've ever seen any Protoss do it. in late game scenarios. It's an absolute beautiful concave where Fungals could only connect with 2 or 3 voids at a time. Parabomb would only connect with 3 voids at a time. He is as good as anyone when it comes to making void rays look viable in the late game. But there must have been a reason why he didn't go for it.
With them dying earlier in that just really, eagle-eyed push, honestly. Classic realizing he could. Now this one's a little different. All right, there was like maybe 7 lurkers last time.
I do enjoy these bailing run bys.
In a wide concave, that's a lot more. So not going to be too eager to do that. But now we do have maybe that little bit of a stalemate. Serral didn't have
Let's not make it too grim. I know, guys, I kind of started it, but let's enjoy the final day of Dallas instead of talking about nuclear war and mutual assured destruction and all that. The only nukes I want to see are from Maru in the semifinals.
Looking a little
keep it at that.
Thinks maybe he can do it. Not really, because the corruptors are
no, one nuke won't, but
being added on, and Serral is
a couple hundred might.
Every now and
Let's not go there.
Base, but Classic trying to return the favor with some more.
Let's cheer for a Maru nuke and that's it.
Go down, and the Zealots do not find a whole lot of success. It's more about the distraction potentially. Is Serral?
Maybe Maru and Solar are both still alive, guys. We might see it.
Corruptors are almost ready to go, but I think waiting for a couple of the important spellcasters might be necessary here.
Yeah, we got a couple of infestors in production. Some Zealots going to swing around that left side and again apply pressure while the rest of this is going on. Nice feedback. 1, 2 on the infestors initially. We did eat 1 fungal. That is going to allow the corruptors to dive in. So many Archons in the back are not going to reach those corruptors, but the storms are very good. Ling's counter-attacking, going to force a warp in over there. We drop a revelation down. Can we attack into these lurkers? Right now, Classic is saying no, not quite. So he's not going to commit. He had so many of those.
Maybe because I've been playing public video games since the year 2005, question monkey. And back then AI was barely a thing. And they were very, very stupid.
Another Warp Prism in the main base too. There are 2 lurkers though, so they won't find devastating damage, but maybe something up there in the main. Serral most importantly needs.
It's actually a very sick game. There's so much action happening and a lot of harassment too. Serral's life is on the line. If Classic wins this game, guys, he advances into the semifinals and he punches his ticket to EWC this summer. By far and away the biggest event that we will have this year.
Buildings and units to make sure that did not go down. But Serral, he's got the good corruptor count. It's 23 corruptors. He also has the upgrades already. Actually, Classic very late to any additional upgrades. He's got +3 attack, but no shields on the way. We got no air weapons on the way either. And that wasn't necessarily the case last game. Serral managed to squeak out a little bit of an edge as far as the upgrades went, but it was mostly, close together. And this time around, not the case. That could affect these upcoming battles. 5th base denied here by the Ling run by. And Serral was going to try and send some lurkers up to the right side too, but that doesn't look like it's going to work.
It's going to be obviously Classic looking to, put 5th base down. He's going to choose down here, which would be kind of wild, no? Because now we're going to have 2 bases very close to each other, and these consistent fights will continue. But maybe Classic is okay with that because those Tempests are keeping on reaching across and doing a lot so far. Getting a few of those lurker shots now as he tries to get the Archons up in front in case the Corruptors come diving on through.
The banks are not that large yet, that I don't think this necessarily is going to be like a 40-50 minute game. And also, nothing has been really secured. I feel like there's a lot of openings to be found for both players.
Broodlord starting to add in little bits of damage as well.
I don't think this will necessarily be a long game. This one could be over in the next 5 minutes. I'm not saying that it won't be long, it can be, but at this point there is no reason to just assume this is going to be a very long game. Because they're both playing with fire. It's on a knife's edge, tasteless.
Very, very careful with how they're moving into each other, letting little bits go down, but mostly neither player, again, really wanting to push into each other. And Classic is dealing with multi-pronged harass. Just that one lurker that managed to avoid the main army did cause some problems at the 4th, and the lurkers at the natural, I think they...
Getting the Cybercore is very nice. There are no air upgrades yet.
So, further delayed upgrades for Classic.
Yeah, nothing in the skies for him upgrade-wise, as this base is going to be in some trouble. Obviously, those Tempests upgraded will absolutely smash through a hatchery. And it seems to be the case. The Corruptors are going to start moving forward. The preemptive storm is good, and I don't know if Serral really wants to keep moving into that, considering the hatch is already dead. Like, it's one thing to dive in and try and save the base, but once the base is
Body's
gone,
right.
do we care so much about diving into that position? I don't think so. These Lurkers are going to unburrow, though, and they're going to get chased away as well. A few of them will go down, as Classic is not afraid to jump when the iron is hot.
Serral's gas bank is very, very concerning.
Have gone down. That is quite a good number. Only 2 Broodlords, but then the Broodlords have not been a terribly high in number anyway as of yet. Only 9, adding a few more here and there. More lurkers trying to get a run by or effective usage of them.
No.
But Classic is really doing a great job getting some
Very worried for Serral at
there
this point,
seems to be
guys.
something happening
Very,
inside.
very
We'll see
uncomfortable
something
position
Serral
for any
too,
Zerg to
getting
be
a
in.
kill, not cancel on a hatchery. Serral was starting to get a bigger bank, but he had to replace all those units and then just lost the hatchery too, so that is no longer the case. But he is continuing to upgrade, and I mean, sometimes these battles happen so hard, so fast.
But last game we didn't really see was Classic splitting up the army and making great usage of the double recall. Maybe that is because that map is a bit tighter. This map is pretty damn wide. And I can't imagine a world where if Classic continues to be in a better position that he won't go for those plays. And I don't really know how Serral deals with it.
Classic just doesn't find the value in it, I suppose. Wants to save the resources for something else.
Yeah, maybe just the fact that he's been so slow in the economy this game, right? He's not being super rich because he definitely went for the shield upgrades last game when there was all the time and money in the world. This game just feels as though it's maybe a bit more about keeping on and being able to produce those units. But I'm with you. I think at this point, you could absolutely get some shield upgrades because there's a lot of Archons, and like you say, it affects everything. Classic pushing in again, still being the aggressor over on this side. We are going to see the Oracles getting very close there. Storm coming down a little bit misplaced. I think Classic panicking a little bit there as he was a little unsure about what was going on. There is going to be the Lurker Burrow on the other side. As once more, that's something that Classic has to go deal with. He's got his Prism in the main base, but there's Lurkers there defensively too. And a Corrupted and knock the Prism down. So it looks like Serral's defense will be good. Those Lurkers will just reposition to be a little bit faster and clearing up, and these Lurkers are still going huge.
Nasale looks pretty decent for Serral, where the defense at home is very sound, and he's finding good damage with just a couple Lurkers on the other side of the map.
Just defend, and Classic did manage to find 2 hatcheries and some lagging units that are trying to escape. But
I think there are 0 Vipers at the moment.
Just a victory for Classic straight up, right? He got 2 hatcheries, a couple of units.
Move.
Serral made sure to have some units on the other side of the map, and that is what's causing this, I think, to be not exactly a non-issue for Serral, but a bit less of an issue. He does still need these bases up. He does need another base worth of mining, but he keeps his army alive. He doesn't make any stupid mistakes in the hubbub that was going down, and refocuses on getting a base mining and well protected. And for Classic, you know, trying to go for the old left-right, probably going to set up for that again. Army on the right side, where also his bases are, although finally trying to take the one on the left. But then Zealots on the left side, hoping to...
In a 22-minute game, just having +3 attack. Nice little bird circling there. No armor, no shields, no air weapons, no air armor. Honestly, pretty surprising. Like, look at what Serral's got 5 different upgrades. Air attack, air armor, ground range, ground armor, ground melee +3. Such a big difference. He's losing a couple hatcheries now. Real quick, Serral did not expect this fight.
Before they do too much. Now finally Bungle's coming in to try and help, but we are chasing the Tempest. They're going to want to chase those Broodlords, no doubt, and they will see how many kills they can get as Serral is in full retreat mode.
Serral did not expect that army there.
This
is good though.
That was scary, as once again just a single Lurker being so annoying.
Could get the Nexus, actually. I mean, he's been so insistent on that base.
Defensive DTs would have made Classic his life a whole lot easier, I think.
Cancels happening too, so Serral's never gotten very much of a bank, and then losing those infestors because he simply wasn't paying attention. Also takes away his gas bank. Classic, I think, kind of noticed
Not
it.
too worried
The
about
infestors have a
Classic
chance
making
to
carriers now.
Be killed right there, and I think he's ultimately
Looking a
glad
lot
that
better for
it's okay.
Serral at the
He
moment
does
than it
take the
did a little
end
while
of
ago.
that. He does not get his 6th base up, and the 3rd, like I said, it seems inevitable that will fall. The Lurker moved away and then came back. It's gonna get the kill there.
Lurkers is getting a lot of props somewhere.
Actually, he might be able to save it. Yeah, he didn't target the Nexus. It's still so low, though.
That Lurker going down. Nexus is going to hang about. We get the Nidus Network coming through, the few more Zerglings, the +3 Flyer attack upgrade coming in, all of those setups continuing. At this point, I really feel like we maybe should have gotten a shield upgrade, CG. It's been so long in this game.
Right?
Like,
I do totally agree. Not having plasma shields is wild, because it also helps your air units, right?
just stay in.
You don't want to go for ground armor upgrades, that's fine, but not getting plasma shields is pretty wild, especially because he's been maxed out and has had money in the bank for a while. I think Serral's in an advantage at this point. Pretty big advantage.
Because Serral's going to take this fight. A lot of feedbacks went down. I didn't think that was a particularly good start, but he did get the fungal, and that's why he was going for it. One of the Archons, one of the Mothership. Still trade there for Serral on the technology units, but
Let's go, Yana.
a good enough one because Classic
Let's go.
fell down in supply.
If he wants to build carriers, it takes forever to get carriers out. They're not even going to be that scary. Let's go.
This army to the top left. Serral actually really dominating in supply right now is Classic. He has a bank, but he has decided that he doesn't need to panic warp in worse units. He is going to stay nice and calm, evaluate the situation, say this isn't the end of the world. I'm down in supply. But
I would really love it if Yona immediately starts air armor. Or
What's really wild is
carapace.
just the fact that I know it's 24 minutes, but like
He's got +3 flyer attacks. That's amazing. And immediately needs. Yeah, it was already queued up.
they've been playing
So
kind of
big.
a very low eco game all the way throughout. So while yes, there's been banks there and it makes sense.
Honestly, I think Serral is kind of cooking, guys.
There's a lot
I
of
think
retail
this is
still
back-to-back
left.
game
There's
5.
a lot of mining left to go. And it's gonna
Man, I feel like whenever we have American DreamHacks, Atlanta, Dallas, it doesn't matter. There's so many fucking good games.
Right now, Classic struggling to get that next.
We
base
should
top.
never host the Starcraft
Maybe
2
also
tournament
maybe
elsewhere.
through the base top left of Serral, but Serral's army's there as well, so I'm not sure we could really progress on that very easily.
Yeah, not sure about it, but yeah, it's a bit of a reach for Serral's army to get to that base. It's the one in the 11 o'clock position that's going to be very accessible for him. Nidus Worm is coming down in the bottom right, avoiding the cannons, but Classic had warped in
Oh,
Zealots
if they
after-
clump up, that might come online, guys. I was worried that was gonna happen. All the Zealots derping, that might come online.
Use your
Oh, what a play!
Oh, the second Nidus
What a
Worm, you've got
play!
Body blocks further, nicely done. Lurker is certainly in a tough position to beat without, yeah, some type of bigger, more air-based army. But
Hey, the big fight in top left observer.
Oh, that's why. Okay, Classic distracted. Didn't actually kill the Nidus Worm. Serral picked up on that faster and just popped another Lurker out. So more damage being done on Classic's bottom right base. And he is forced to evacuate.
Serral's
the
been
top
very
left.
sick
Might not
this
be
game.
saving that
Like,
base
very,
up.
very sick.
Those corruptors are low though, which is kind of scary right now because you need them to come in and fight and protect those brood lords. So we kind of need to be doing something there. We do see the Lings succeed in the counter. Man, Classic is so low on workers, and like I say, there's so many bases to mine from. I feel like 22 workers is such a low amount to be on at this point in time. That bottom right base being the
How many hatcheries has Classic killed in this game? I feel like it's been 6 or 7. Like a serious amount.
Set back up. I think he does need to rebuild probes, which he is doing, and again, still need to look for bases in this game.
Next time they bring up the units lost tab, guys, keep an eye for the hatcheries in case I missed it, because I feel like a lot of hatches have died.
Left over, and after our last game where there was just a big stalemate, to see them both already almost approaching the. There aren't any minerals.
I think at this point it would make no sense for Classic to send it because he's got no money. And if you have no money, you can't rebuild interceptors. And if you can't rebuild interceptors, I don't see how you ever just win the game. So I think it's impossible at this point to make the decision to send it.
We're getting these constant trades, and we're getting an uncomfortable.
At bare minimum, we're gonna need like 500-600 minerals, I think, to even dream about trying to end the game.
Exhausted their banks back to just who can actually use their current army most effectively. Lurk is trying to jump on top of this bottom right base. Looks like that will be good enough. Classic needs a little more if he wants to help defend that, but he's actually using his entire army to go up to the top left. But a Nidus Worm, I think, just spooked him. I'm not sure where it went down. Actually, just reinforcing the bottom right. So, oh, and now the main base. Yep, which hopefully he does see.
Yep, that's the sort of thing that can become very frustrating.
Probably no recall available, no?
Spin up to the main base suddenly, that's just so
I don't think he's got a recall at this point.
Classic back, maybe force a recall if he has that off cooldown again. Yeah, he's going to notice it just a little bit too late. Zealots warping in, and they're not going to do good enough against the lurkers. So now you need something extra there, and that's just so.
Now I think he's gonna send it.
Extra kind of high-tech units back.
Yeah, Coco's second recall.
Really want them on the map.
I think at this point, Classic is gonna go for it. This is Classic's moment. This is where he says, F it. I'm gonna try to end this game. And he could do it. Classic gets a really good fight. He's in the semifinals and he's going to EWC. But if he keeps playing like this, I don't see how he ever not qualifies for EWC later on. But that doesn't matter right now.
But if he
Massive
loses both
moment.
by being rushed, then of course he could actually lose the game. Recall is going to be used. That army took out the hatcheries that it could. It did not want to play with fire anymore. So again,
Honestly, I don't like that recall very much. I don't understand why we did that. Now it just feels like we're terribly out of position against everything else.
More important mining base. Classic still has some minerals to the bottom right, but the first 4 bases are gone, or the third is just gone entirely in the case. And then this one is, yeah, one of the
Man,
last
Serral's
ones.
so good. That's actually
Nice
silly.
Storm also allowing for that successful
Serral's
escape,
actually so
something
good.
that Serral's been adding on for, you know, year plus at this point.
Shocking announcement, I know. It's a bit of a demo take, guys. You know, it's pretty good. Serral.
At this point, run buys, Nidus Worms, making Classic move every which way, and at this point, Classic is not getting as much in turn. I think for the first half of this game, it was a lot of tit for tat. A base went down, but then probes went down.
Starcraft is literally never allowed to die because Serral's so good.
Serral is getting a lot more control, and that is visible in the bank. Classic not
base.
reaching 1,000 minerals. Serral
No,
almost
not
at
the
3,000,
gas.
3,000.
Yep,
Kill the
it's just been
Nexus!
Serral's being able to consistently say, okay,
Kill the
I see where we're at right now.
Nexus!
This Nexus is going to die to the Lings anyway, so never mind the excitement of the Lurkers going down. Yeah, it really kind of has gone to this point, right, where Serral has just been so consistent with the counters. The Niduses have been used great, amazing.
Thank you, Alex.
Classic's just not
Feels good to be
Serral
back,
in
man.
that kind of
What a day to
top
return.
game right here. He's had a lot of good movement with his army, but the Niduses are getting away from him right now. And on a map that's ending up so spread out from top to bottom, you need to be on top of those. You can't just go, like, you know, left to right as easily as we were on Incorporeal, right? So this is a very different situation now. And you're getting kind of punished for not being able to be as good with those Niduses.
11 Infestors and 1 Viper is kind of funny.
Classic. For Classic, you know, he's also just... Well, it's a good...
How were those games, Leroy? Because that's a series that I would have actually loved to watch. Did Gabe 8 Rex and did Rogue just dismantle it, or was it fireworks?
Missing all these, usually the equivalent opportunities, like I said, in the first half of the game was happening. The War Prism in the main, very consistent. And, you know, one of that is the action, probably. But the second thing is that he was starting to get denied. So there is a fairly legitimate reason as to why he's not trying it. But it does mean Serral gets more and more comfortable. The more comfortable you are...
To me, it kind of just feels that Classic is being put further and further into the grave with everything that's been happening in the last 10 minutes. Like, he's got no money, he's losing bases, he's out of position over and over again. And Serral's just getting richer and stronger. Like, you look at the upgrades, the Serral ain't stopping. Honestly, to me, it kind of feels that this is death to 1,000 paper cuts. Did Serral just become the spoon Zerg?
Serral is allowed to use his army very efficiently, the more that he might even have a second army of bank worth. And then Classic, you know, his ultimate army might not be good enough at that point. It might not be good enough still for a direct fight, depending on how some of these spells go. Classic, you know, I'd hate for him to lose because he gets a little rushed, but he's also really being forced to. He's got to do something.
Yeah, I think at this point there is no such thing as Classic being too rushed. I think Classic really needs to go. Like, right now he's got an army that is good enough that can win a fight and can win it so convincingly that you can even deal with the Remax or whatever Serral is going to be able to produce. But the longer you wait, the less likely that becomes.
Side of the map, here we go, the fungal coming down. We have had a few feedbacks already, now some storms coming in as well. We're hitting a lot of those units. Feedback still coming in here from Classic, who is trying to fight from the distance. Only a single neural parasite coming up, and Classic...
Were those all the Infestors?
Serral is going to have a lot of his queens in trouble, and if Classic just chases that army,
oh,
Serral might be in some serious trouble, and this one mega army might just get the job done.
It might. That was not a good fight for Serral.
Did we lose all 10 Infestors there?
Is really not impressive as of yet. Classic maybe choosing the right time to finally push in. Serral a little underprepared. Didn't have the order of operations set up ahead of that fight. So the Infestors were a little awkward. They kind of fungled, neuraled, then stormed, then ran back into it. Like, it was just a mess. He does get the opportunity to retreat.
This is so good, by the way, for Serral that he's recalling. Oh, that's so good. That's actually so good.
Take care of more of the harassing units. So he is, I suppose...
fear of being eliminated, I get it. But it's so good for Serral that Classic decides to recall there. Because now we can just rebuild and do it all over again and do it a whole lot better. Oh, I think Classic should always go there. I think you chase and you never look back. Then you can rally out a Void Ray at home to deal with some shit. You leave an Observer and a Void Ray at home. But I think you never look back.
For a few moments, Serral had 0 gas income as well, so genuinely being put into a...
He didn't have a lot of voids in that fight. I think it's mostly just that Serral had obviously no Power Bomb at all. He had 1 Viper starting the fight. I don't think it was able to get anything off. And it just kind of felt that all the Infestors died immediately without really getting anything done. Yeah, I think if Classic keeps on pushing there, I think Serral's in all sorts of trouble. But that recall was amazing for Serral. Maybe in Classic's mind, like, Serral is as broke as he is, because he did kill a lot of hatcheries early on, and maybe he just felt that fight was so good, let's not throw it right now, but it's kind of the opposite, right?
Tough decisions.
It is the road to EWC DreamHack Dallas 2025.
Miscellaneous Swarm host. It's going to be suicided in eventually. But the bottom right.
Thank you, by the way, Elmer.
Healthy,
behave today, mate.
Worth taking. It's just, again, Serral doesn't have that many drones. So, you know.
The one Swarm host is a mistake. It's the accidental Swarm host. Not on purpose.
You know, plus 2,000, plus 3,000 a minute. No, it's still pretty low. And Classic even beating them now as the drones are pulled away from the gold. Serral is maybe going to get another base race opportunity one thing that never happened was that the Cracklings really never decimated the main, and that led actually to Classic's win. Serral couldn't kill the main buildings fast enough. Here, he's actually starting to get a lot of them torn down, while also trying to open up an opportunity on the left side with a Nidus Worm.
Yeah, minus 80 negative supply.
Technically, if Serral cannot win the fight, although I think the next fight should be a lot better than the previous one, he could maybe also...
I want to know how many Vipers we have. I see one.
But it is there.
He's set up very well for the base phase because of exactly what you've said, right? He's already made so much progress, and in Classic, if it gets to that point, I genuinely need to probably just think about how you would approach that. Like, bring a couple of probes with the army and hope they live through, and just be ready to build structures elsewhere. Because something like that might end up saving him in the game. Because
definitely a much more action-packed game than the previous one. The previous one was really sick for 20 minutes. Or like 18 minutes, and then nothing happened until the final fight. That was not the case. This one has had non-stop action.
I did not realize how much of a supply block is going on, Wardy. Holy Lord, 196 at 118, about to get worse. The Cracklings dip into the main base once again. Serral doesn't have the second attack. So
there was a tournament once where Blizzard got angry at us for using the word cracklings. We got scolded. We were not allowed to call it cracklings. Apparently, we have defeated Woke Baby. We're so back. Cracklings are back on the menu.
It's just so much more tech heavy than it was before, because it's had time where he's been able to mine gas over a few minutes, and those few additional tech units go a long way to making his army that much more comparable to what it was before. Classic's moving out down the bottom. We'll see what Serral wants to do. An attack up the top would be likely, although there's a lot of stack defense there, so maybe that's what Classic is banking on. Let him counterattack there. You have the stack defense in place, and then just try and force a fight, because he can't play this game of running around forever.
Classic is going to force the fight in the bottom right, but Serral has also...
That's some real ruddy gaming right there, guys. 36 minutes, triple pylon, triple cannon.
I think it's going to be a little bit better than the
I
last
love
fight.
it.
Serral is absolutely prepared for this. The infestors aren't kind of caught awkwardly. Even a good fungal catching these tempests. So the
Nice
Crypt's gonna try and capitalize on
Very
that.
good
Grab one.
parabomb.
At the very least, storms are blanketing the army, though. And Serral has to be very careful not to overstay, right? Because maybe the units are alive, but they are injured. Another storm, another Archon shot suddenly ruins your entire day. So Serral's going to let that base go. Classic's going to have to accept that that's going to be it. Pushing it any further is going to be very,
The fact that this is so difficult for Serral to win, despite the fact that he's literally like 5-6 upgrades ahead that all matter, that are all relevant, is insane to me.
It's beautiful, right? It's the exact thing he needs, though, to defend against those few Zerglings. As we do have the Tempest firing away, that hatchery taking some big hits right now. A few High Templars need to be careful. They were a little bit away from the rest of the army. You're right, Serral got a great fungal at the start of that last fight, and it just edged things to be a little bit better.
I feel like rebuilding a fleet beacon with this economy is kind of cope. Oh, Mothership! Kill the Mothership!
As well, Mothership and a Tempest going.
That was very good for Serral. Very, very, very good.
A bit of Classic's army for free.
Yeah, realizing he could grab two rather than just the one, really. Because he could have abducted the mothership. That would have been easy, right? But he realized he can get 2 units. And this is very important because we're on really the last army. No one got a bigger than 3,000 mineral bank, I believe, in this game. Just the trades were too... they're too often. You know, Classic losing a lot more of his economy early on, but then making sure to keep Serral suppressed so that Serral might have had, at times, more bases. But he actually never had enough drones to really... you know, just skyrocket ahead on that bank. The one time that it looked like it might happen was when Classic did move in and get that really good fight. So no one's comfortable at this point. Still a lot of mining technically to be done on this map, but...
I mean, I know there was talk a couple weeks ago before I left about like a new tiny little patch about right now motherships are abductable again. But obviously, that was not the case when I left. By the time that I left, I know that you could absolutely not abduct a mothership, and that's why a lot of Zergs hate it so much. That commentary made me feel that that change went through. But I don't think it is. I heard about this. Like, not really a brand new patch before EWC, but just a very, very minor balance patch. It did not go through. Okay, so then they shouldn't talk about abducting motherships. Because there were talks about that. I don't know if that was public or not public, but... that was, I read it, couple little changes in that being one of them. It's weird that they were talking about it then. I was confused too by that, I'll be honest. Because I read about it and I was like, nobody went crazy to me that a new patch went through and maybe I missed it. I mean, I was 18 hours into the future, so what do I know?
Each and every one of these fights super important, each trade really really.
But that's one of the main reasons why Zorks hate playing against Proto so much, because they can't abduct the mothership.
Storm coming now. The Brutal's getting hurt. Some Tempest shots going in as well. And so far, Serral not being able to capitalize with any spellcasting just yet. Maybe those few units leading to the front opens the door for Fungal.
Some queens go down, which, you know, might, whatever, queens, right? But actually, transfuse.
Everything is always live on this channel, guys. No need to ask. I never watch replays.
Not replacing them.
Unless it's very obviously a replay with the replay interface.
So I think
I'm analyzing it.
that he will be able to mine.
If we're watching a game at 1x speed, just know it's live.
Zealots might deny that, but only if Classic's thinking about it. Only if Classic maybe has the supply for it, right? Having the big death ball army as well to need to be maxed out on. Yeah, two more.
The supplies have been so freaking dead even for like 20 minutes at this point.
Serral might have to give up the space, but maybe he's looking for that opportune fight. Big Fungal could come through.
Yeah, just looking to see if he can get the Fungal, keep the high Templar at bay. Feedbacks go down as we did have the vision on those. We do get one Neo Parasite off on the Tempest. Are we actually going to try and fight here? There's the Fungal. As Classic was like, I actually want to back away. He gets the feedbacks on the rest of the Infestors.
The Infestors are getting shreked.
Remember,
That wasn't too hot, I think.
Serral's
Serral's having a really tough time landing the Fungals and the Neuros.
Viper as well. Again, Serral does not have a lot of gas bank. He will spend some of it on Infestors rebuilding, but that is a costly few moments for him. As Classic definitely getting a good edge in that trade.
I feel like we have to avoid fighting in the top left, because that is just not working out at all. Serral is playing incredibly good in this game, and Serral has made so many sick moves, but these fights in the top left are disastrous. They're not even fights.
The Cracklings aren't going to be able to set Classic back down to literally one base, not quite. And Classic actually finding a little corner of the map that allows him to defend 3 bases at once, which is quite nice. The gold, half gold, is being taken by Classic too. Serral, I think, is mining out at this point. His bottom right is also mining out. The very corner, bottom right, never taken, actually. At times, he seemed to be...
He's been trying to do that for a while. I'm actually pretty worried now for Serral. A while ago, I wasn't worried at all. At this point, I'm obviously very worried, because we're just not capable of fighting the army. Every Infestors is getting feedbacked immediately. The fights are not even fights.
It's also a problem. Quick cancel there, and that's something. But Classic has started to actually get his own comfortable bank, kind of. I mean, 2,000, 1,000 isn't great, but it's much better than Serral.
Yeah, he's been having a bit more of a bank the entire kind of last few minutes. It's still just such a point where it's going to come down to really some of these final fights. I mean, any fight can just go one way or the other so easily, and those units have to be super careful as the Vipers may be looking for, some abducts, but you got to be careful because you don't want to let the Tempest...
The only players remaining in this tournament are Shin, Solar, that's your first semi-final, and Maru is your third semi-finalist. Maru will play the winner against this best of 5. That is it. Nobody else is alive.
Knock down those rocks, by the way, because they destroy the blue minerals. That would remove some mineral access for Serral in this game, so something to think on as those lings run by, and Classic is poised on the bottom right. He's going to start attacking bases that I think Serral is going to feel the need to defend.
Yeah, I think so. Even if he gets the top left up again.
A big bank. Bank is more important now.
It is also mining out. This hatchery could be gone, but actually the fight's
one
going to
time.
Serral going for the big fungal begin with Corruptors getting the concave on top of it. Time warp slapped
Loco!
down. Mothership trying to help out here. This army has been successfully swarmed, and Classic is starting to go down in supply. The Corruptors killing all the carriers. The parasitic bomb
what a
adding
fight.
a little bit of extra
What
damage.
a fight.
And Serral comes out on top twice. The army supply of his opponents. Classic has some reinforcements on the way, but now very limited on gas, changes his mind. No longer on the carriers, changes over to Tempest.
Got absolutely shreked twice. Finally found the fight that he was looking for.
We still have 15 Broodlords on the field.
Probably not. That was a good
Patience is a virtue.
jump on that Protoss army. And
You guys ready for another game 5, baby?
himself so well throughout this game. The remaining units fall as well. But yeah, he positioned himself so well throughout the game, but that fight was just not it, and it looks like Serral is going to be pushing us over to a game 5 because that is one hell of a lead. He's set up
Back-to-back
for himself
zeros.
now.
Just a casual 120 supply lead. Oh boy, that was a fight, man. That was a very good fight. Classic not able to, I guess,
Honestly, the 3 gateways on the production tab right now, it's a little bit of cope. Oh no, everyone that works for ESL, Face it, DreamHack, whatever it is, They're sweating right now.
To kill 15 Broodlords, methinks.
Honestly, at this point, I'm sweating because I traveled for 24 hours early today. I had a tiny nap. I don't know if I'm ready for a marathon day.
Not happening here. Classic's on.
But this is going to game 5, guys.
The Broodlords are going to get on top of any of these reinforcements.
Classic is mega dead, and he knows it.
Phases will not live, and Serral is going to secure himself this game 4.
Wow.
Classic looked so good at so many points. He won so many of the fights, I feel like.
Just top left, guys. The top left side, we couldn't take a good fight for the life of us. And bottom right side was a whole lot better.
Yeah, not.
I can show the picture. I really have to go to the restroom, so I'm gonna run as soon as this game is over. Honestly, I think I could run at this point, right?
Classic believes.
Anybody would be upset if I go AFK right now? I don't think so.
It was, much closer towards the tail end of the fight. And now Classic down to 30. Okay, 40 supply.
I gotta see the
He's also gonna run out
GG.
of buildings if he continues having to be aggressive. Serral could just stay at home and remax, I suppose, if he really wanted to. Another hatchery goes down.
But I think it's about to happen. Game 5
will go down. Maybe
Okay, guys,
even
I
the
really
third
gotta go,
one.
because I'm in pain. But it's game 5. I'll see you guys soon.
I mean, you gotta
Then I
try,
won't miss
right?
game.
You're up a game against Serral. You gotta try everything you can to just not let it go to game 5, because a game 5 is never going to be fun to play. You saw all the stress he had to go through to try and have a chance in this one. We try and blink through for the Infestors. We have some Burrow Micro, and we have some Fungals. We have the Broodlords, and these Stalkers will go down. They will get the hatchery. A small final victory for them, but I don't think Serral really minds. He can build it again.
I guess Classic really doesn't want to go to a game 5. I think you're right.
Yeah. Or maybe just taking a moment to chill, because he knows they're not going to be given much time between games after this one. So maybe you just take a moment and just reset a little bit, have a think about, process some of those fights, and think if you end up in a similar situation, hey, what am I going to do next time? What difference am I going to make? Because I think those are very fair questions to ask. Classic keeps getting into very good positions, but Serral is just good enough to keep on surviving. Like I said, we are really just waiting for the GG in this game. This is a foregone conclusion. As the final few units of Classic will go down, this one is going to be a GG, and Serral brings us to a 5th game.
It is not easy for either of these players to win. This is a grueling match. Yes, that fight was very one-sided, actually. That was the end result, but there was no way to guarantee that. Everyone should have been clenching hard when the fights start to appear, right? Anyone could have taken a drastic loss, and there was also a possibility for a wash. But for that particular one, Serral absolutely read it correctly and got one of those just game-ending fights. That was truly game-ending, just most of the way. A Classic, really respectful, I guess, of his ability to stay in a game like that. Because I don't think we can forget how there was an 8-minute period where the Lings and the Lurkers were everywhere. Yeah. The map looked totally Serral-sided. And Classic looked like, a poor dog, like trying to choose between two masters. Like, defend the left, no, defend the right, no, defend the left, defend the right. I don't. And Classic did keep a cool head. And eventually even got himself into a slightly favorable position when he had that bank. It was just the fight was too bad, and that does happen sometimes in those late game TVPs. And now you got to face Serral in a game 5. I don't even know what position you're going to be in. We're talking so much more about Classic position, because I think he was coming in as a bit of the underdog, but also just, I don't know, like the expectations are not being set correctly. It's like you see this Tempest move out, you see a lot of other Zergs having trouble in that scenario, and then Serral just seems like he's still the same Serral that was in previous metas and previous map pools. And so, what is Classic's thoughts on that? I don't know.
It's a lot of very good questions, and a lot on the line right here, because obviously if you do not win this game, you're going to have to go through the qualifiers to try and make it to EWC instead, or try and win a GSL. It's not easy. It comes down to more brackets further down the line, matches that are very easily lost. You're so close right now. It'd be so nice just to get yourself there in this moment. But yeah, I mean, one of these guys will make it to EWC today. The other will have to go to next week's qualifiers. Let's find out as we're here in the quarterfinals of the road to EWC at DreamHack Dallas. In the bottom left, our red Protoss player is Classic.
And in the top left, we have Team Basilisk's Serral.
don't even know what you really think to do right now as Classic. I mean, the later games have not looked unwinnable for you. They've been extremely close, and it's obviously so frustrating to play there, but...
Oh, all right. Orange.
Really? We're going back to game one, if you remember that? Oh, God.
Cannons?
Oh, my God. Maybe Classic has cracked.
Damn it.
No,
Because I was AFK, we couldn't run the ads in between, and now I will have ads again in 3 minutes. What is this timing today?
Did Serral stop putting
Total disaster.
helpful defensive scouting position? Does he forget
Oh.
how to block the
It's
cannon
okay.
rush? Once
In
it's
2 minutes, we'll definitely know who is very far ahead or who is very far behind.
Doesn't really seem like
But
it,
that's
right,
good
as this
news.
probe comes up toward the high ground, and we'll
Just run ads now? No, no, no. We have to see the first 2 minutes of the cannons.
Leave the one pylon for now.
No, because we used already all the pulses, but it's okay. These 2 minutes are way more important than the 3 minutes after that.
But now the probe has a chance to set up on the low ground, and the rest of the drones pull, realizing the situation. Pylon low
Isn't
ground
it
is
better to do
guaranteed
4 and
to
4,
in the
guys?
corner.
Shouldn't
As the drones
Serral
don't
also be
look at the
attacking the
pylon
top
here, but yeah,
pylon?
this is going to be a little tough. Classic is going to get a better setup than he had in the first game, at least.
Yeah, this
Yes,
is a real cannon
absolutely.
rush.
Serral was
Oh
able
my
to
god,
stop
this is
the
bad for Serral, I
extra
think.
pylons from coming down
I think
by
it's
putting a
bad.
drone on patrol,
I think it's bad.
in both like the high ground and low ground positions in the first game. This time around, this is
Uh-oh.
more what you kind of expect from the cannon rush, which is not to end the game, especially if you're not going to follow up with, like, proxy rope or proxy Stargate, but rather to get a cancel.
Honestly, this is what you hope for if you're Classic. It's that simple. This is what you hope for.
And then, they've overcommitted.
So right now would be the best moment to run the ads, guys, because now they're just gonna drone up. I'm really sorry about this, but it's because I was AFK, my stomach was hurting, and we couldn't do it before, and the games have been going on forever. So I'm just gonna do it now. A lot of you guys won't even get any ads, so that's best. But this is the best moment, because later on, in 2 minutes from now, it will matter again. It's now or never. I have no choice. It's either now or in 90 seconds, and this is a better choice. Trust me.
For the first game, and now can work with it as we have really. Oh no, two. Okay, that was like really fast 2 gateways. Of course, those are his first gateways. Cannon rush.
Yeah, those 2 gateways are going to be the opening cast this time for for Classic. Sorry, gateway.
Thank
units.
you, Alex.
So
I already did it. If you guys don't have ads now, you won't get them at all.
Third hatch in a different location, a better location, as this high ground pylon.
But this was the best moment to do it.
The probe gonna come back up
A
here.
better moment would have been right when Game 4 ended,
As
but
long as possible
I
to
was
try
in
and stop
pain.
Anything from coming down this ramp freely or easily. But with that one a bit further back, might actually be able to stop the queen from picking it off.
I'm a bit surprised that he's still trying to get high ground pylons. Why do you guys think that is? Why are we building high ground pylons?
Yeah, we do have a lot of gas being taken for Serral.
Just to delay the natural even
Which is a little
longer?
surprising. I wonder what his plan
But
is.
you don't really have money to take that
Classic
natural
does know
immediately
that the
anyway.
drone managed to escape off to the right side. A really important note too, because if that does
Yeah,
happen,
like,
sometimes
it buys you
the
some
natural
time,
so,
but is it
so
worth it?
delayed.
I understand that, guys, I know how
Serral's
StarCraft works.
speed
I
does
do
finish.
get it.
Having an evolution chamber
I'm just
at this
asking
point.
myself, is it worth it?
He has so much
And I don't think
gas.
it is, but-
Yeah, he does finally pull off of it, by the way.
It also delays the drone
Finally
transfer,
able
to be
transfer
fair.
the drones as well, so that's one thing we've not been able to do before now because of that cannon being there. So this cleanup is effective for Classic.
Maybe it
and
was
that's,
okay, I don't know.
effective for Serral, and that's why Classic wanted to try and delay this as long as possible. And Serral just going to wander into this mineral line and lings out on the map, so Serral will have a chance to just disrupt the drones a little further and just trying to be as annoying as possible here so
Oh,
far.
you're not.
And that's a lot of lost mine time. Great micro to keep the drones alive. And yeah, nice job by Serral. But it's still a good idea from Classic as the third hatchery will come down from Serral, and he does invest into the melee upgrade off that.
So I almost
early
feel like
Evo
the
chamber.
start was as good as it gets, right,
That's
with
what
this
you know,
opening.
apparently, this entire series has
And
met
then
my
we won it
activity
now.
goal.
Like, do we
So
really
really
love
my
it for
heart rate
Classic? I
is
think it's good. I think it's
up
slightly
against
better
the
than it
time.
normally is.
I mean, it's been intense apart from.
But I don't know if it's like great, great.
Game 3, but
But it's,
definitely.
I guess, slightly better than what it normally is.
Oh man, yeah. Even this cannon rush, is a little tense on it, just because it could have been a real failure like the first game. As I said, kind of middle of the road this time around. But then Serral, with all that gas taken, I was wondering if he was going to all in the counter, and that would have been a very risky move. Either decided not to, or made a mistake with how much gas he mined. Honestly, I know he makes very.
I mean,
few
Protoss
mistakes.
is very often ahead until like 440, 445, and that's when Zorg normally gets ahead. Now that was prolonged a little bit, right, to pass the 5-minute mark. I really don't think the advantage is that big, to be fair. And if the oracles don't find damage, I think it's probably even going to be good for Serral.
Sometimes, if Serral had committed more lings across the map, that third nexus could have been surrounded and killed. Yes, there are 3 adepts, but a surround still could have gotten it.
Slightly. It's really not that big of a lead, guys.
Serral was hoping for, thinking of a Baneling.
It's not bad for Classic, but it's really not that big of a lead that Serral's in immediate
has not discovered that as a
trouble.
He studies lings, but
Thank you, Andre, for the
it's fine.
28
He
months.
does not know about the evolution chamber. He does not know about the Baneling nest.
So important to keep this Overlord alive for a little bit, because the adepts are coming.
They're just going to try and hit the pylon.
Kill the
And a couple
Stalker.
Stalkers warping in as they get extra gates going up. And the Oracles and the Adepts are just across the map, ready to poke forward and try and find some of that successful damage that he did in the last game, which helps them move into a really solid position early on. Gonna get here. The Oracles will try and help.
Oh,
as the
great
lanes do get
defense.
a surround.
Really
The
good
Oracles gonna have to
defense.
leave those. The Queen show up, and we're gonna recall the Adepts, which is gonna get one very low Adept. back
1
alive.
HP, 1 adept comes out.
Yeah, again, one of those opportunities that looked a little better than it actually was. Serral doing a great job of pulling back. Just waiting.
I actually think Serral has played mega clean for the last 4 minutes.
To help him surround on the ramp rather than taking the fight in the natural meant that, you know, Classic couldn't make the decision ahead of time to recall, I guess. You know, take an okay fight initially. Now, he in fact lost basically the entirety of the Adept push. Kept the Oracles alive, which is maybe more important, as they're still going to be very helpful. But Serral's up to 66 drones, getting up to Ling, Baneling, Hydra. We could even have a push going in mind, I suppose, but it is actually 75 drones, never mind. Very lot of economy here for Serral. Classic, going for the normal stuff, 3 base, +1, Blink, Storm finally starts up. And I don't see an attack coming in the next 60 seconds. It will be, I think, Classic.
I will edit the comment after that, so we don't see that weird emote anymore for Hero. And that doesn't matter anyway, because we've got our top 4.
Just at the right moment, in a good position. The next 2 times that Classic has tried to move out with the Stalker Storm, it has
say
not
doo-doo?
worked. It has put him in an awkward position at the very least.
Do,
So I
do, do.
wonder if that is going to make him hesitate in Game 5.
It's definitely given you a lot of given Serral a couple of
This
edges.
is so
right? A
good
couple
by
of times.
Serral. Serral has killed
Both
2
the
Oracles,
damage,
guys.
frustration, and revelation,
Serral's
confusion,
killed 2
obviously,
Oracles.
throughout the game.
Has lost barely
The
anything.
Erlings will check in there, sees the Stalkers, saw High Templar as well, I believe. So Serral just confirming what we are at and where things stand right now. Hydra's on the way up as well. So obviously Storm good against Lings, Banes, and Hydras. It's just the fact that
The power of Banelings is that Banelings on creep are very, very likely to connect with High Templar, so Protoss players need to respect it. If you don't have Banelings, Protoss players can get really carried away with just 1, 2 stasis traps, Warp Prism, Stalkers go forward, and it feels like the High Templars can never die. And that makes the Banelings a lot more powerful.
I actually almost do prefer Classic going into like the longer game, which seems kind of crazy when you're talking about playing against Serral.
But if he gets there in a more secure
Yeah, very
fashion,
strange.
it is actually
It
better for him.
has to do with
The way
stream
that
elements
Tempest
being
has been
subbed
a
to
little
somebody,
more
I guess.
haphazard. That the last game in particular really was a dangerous transition, having to afford a remake of his army as well as the Tempest transition, all without that 4th base. But this is going to be one of the calmest.
Do you guys think it's Wardy and ZG the entire day, or will they swap after like maybe this series or the semifinals, and then it's gonna be Pig and Loco? Or do you guys think it's Wardy ZG for all of it?
Which, you know, I think that
ZG all day, she said. Well deserved. Fuck yeah. I'm a fan.
They were considerably better.
Yeah, next you don't know. I did offer them, like they asked me for this event. I was contacted to do a rehearsal day in all 3 days. I told them that I couldn't do that, and I would be available for Saturday and Sunday. And they said, we appreciate that, but the production crew only wants to work with people who are available for all 4 days. I was like, alright, it is what it is. But I was asked. It's okay. They didn't forget about the old man yet.
This Classic is playing very defense.
A few Stalkers step through into the center. Obviously Stargate and the Fleet Beacon coming up. The Lurker Den already on the way in. We are accelerating toward that next stage of the game, which we've seen frequently between these two so far, as the units continue to gather up on that left-hand side. So Classic will step forward.
Yeah, if there was obviously the regular setup with casters at DreamHack Dallas, then I would have declined the poker thing. And I would have maybe still gone to Evo Japan, but then from Evo Japan I would have just stayed a couple days extra in Japan and then go to America. That would have probably been my plan. But I didn't feel like skipping out on a cool fun trip to Jeju to do some casting from my living room. It's not the same. Like, if I could have gone to Dallas and hang out with everybody and cast in front of a crowd, I would have obviously prioritized that over the poker thing, but just a few days from home. Like, I've already casted 9,000 games from this living room. Didn't feel like missing out on JJ for that.
Right? Okay, damn, that didn't work. Oh god, what do I do? You know, it feels like they have panic from these other Zergs, and Serral, you know, he gets the lurkers. He might be able to move out in the map and get a little bit of control in Classic's 5 bases now, as we see some, attacks happening. But he is totally prepared for this not to end the game. He is going double fire, already
preparations across the board. Nice storms as the on the right side do eat a few of those as we actually try and chase up, but then there's some lurkers there, so it's not going to end as well as maybe.
Those were really big storms. We could have addressed those storms.
So he's just going for punch after punch after punch. The storms here will try and defend, and they will do a very good job of it on the bottom side of your screen. On the top side of your screen, same story. So the Banelings don't get anywhere. Honestly, a great sequence of defenses made by Classic.
Honestly, that was near perfect. The storms far ahead of the Banelings hitting anything important. Obviously, map vision was fantastic. Saw it coming, was able to pull the probes away.
This could be another mega long game. After that fantastic defense on the left side, on the bottom right, this could now actually turn into another marathon game. Reynor says as well. Have a drink on me. Mate, I have no idea actually if I have any alcohol in the house. I just came back this morning at 6 a.m. Actually, no, 7 a.m. Sorry. I came home at 7 a.m. I went to bed. I woke up. I had coffee, cheesecake, and I opened a bunch of presents because I wasn't at home for my birthday, and Vicky surprised me with a balloon and a bunch of presents. So I watched Formula 1, then I started. I have no idea if I have anything left over. Maybe I depleted my entire alcohol storage before I left. I haven't taken a look yet.
The one who has that aggressive opportunity, absolutely take it.
Very good, Bamas. Very, very, very good.
While he's waiting for his corruptors and his spellcasters again.
Well, it's Classic 7 of that left-hand side, and we are going to be having the lurker wall there. It looks pretty terrifying, especially when you've got those spores in front to stop. And here, the zealots just jumping on the lurker straight away. Big counter-attack. Cannons will buy a little bit of time, but we're going to need more than just those cannons. There's nothing else here at all from Classic. The warping took a little while to show up, and that's just...
I'm really surprised with how late the Dark Shrines have been in these games, and sometimes we didn't get it at all right, but it just feels that some defensive DTs, I'm not talking about DTs to kill bases, blink, whatever, but just some defensive DTs to help out here. Obviously, when I say it, he builds a Dark Shrine. It just makes your life so much easier, right? If you're rich, why not?
On Serral's 4th base. He was like, you can't come after me. I'm just going to poke the spore down. I'm going to poke that lurker down. And Serral needed something.
I know, message over, but see also no. I did not surprise it with this. I did already announce it in advance. And she also understood. Like, I was able to talk to her while I was traveling home. But obviously, she understands that I'm tired. It took me legitimately 24 hours to leave my hotel in Jeju and make it into the Netherlands. So. He understood.
Push when he's like, okay, I'm getting tired of this. I think maybe I have a moment here. I'm going to push. Bam! Ling suddenly in your 4th and your main in every which way, as the lurkers, at the very least, will buy time with the little spore product wall.
And Nidus is starting to come around.
The toss upgrade is the Tempest damage to buildings. Something about tectonic destabilizers or whatever. It allows Tempest to deal plus 40 damage, I believe, to buildings, and the shots become orange.
We have seen some DTs through the series as well, but we've not seen like a lot of DTs, and this feels like a bit of an earlier Dark Shrine than before. Maybe you've just not noticed it amongst everything else going on. So we'll see how well he uses the Dark Shrine.
I thought it was a good idea, crush him in, but in the end I'm still annoyed at Monaco. They should really get rid of Monaco. Let them qualify in F1 cars and let them race in go-karts, because this is so stupid. Every year it's so stupid.
Yep, yeah, okay, a little caught off right there. Big Fungal on top of the Tempest, the Storms, yeah, will have to come down. I think he was also looking for potential feedbacks for follow-up Fungals. Classic, his Zealots are taken care of. Minor amount of defense going to help out Serral there. Is that 84 drones. Last game got kind of awkward.
Oh,
Rico!
Rico!
So much economy.
Defensive DTs! Rico! Oh my god, what a play!
Oh my god! Whoa. Yes, he will. Very bold maneuver. The mothership's actually going to die to the spores by the looks of things. That's a little helpful. But the high ground has been captured by Classic, and Serral trying to send those lurkers up onto the high ground through his own choke is not looking pretty.
Nope, he's going to lose everything in this main base. It seems like the Corruptors got absolutely battered by storms as well. They put a lot of damage on the mothership, but they took a lot of damage for doing so. So that's extremely costly. All of the tech here in the main base going down again. Obviously, Hive is gone as well, so you're going to have to rebuild that up from scratch. I mean, this is absolutely huge. Plus
Everything,
go
double
down, so
spire, Lurkiden, Hive, plus 3 melee. Holy smokes, everything. And now you might lose the natural too.
For this opportunity, and now the natural hatchery in trouble as well, because the corruptors are not really in high enough numbers to actually go deal with the Tempests at the moment.
No build your spire there.
The backup spire, by the way, just kind of slapped down in a hurry. That's always going to have to be canceled, so no more corruptors going to be made. 9 Broodlords about to finish, and the corruptors are about to pop out, the ones he could afford to make at that time. And this will not lead to...
Serral has not lost yet.
It looks like.
But that was a mega play by Classic, but Serral has not lost yet.
Oh, you feel like it, feel like it, feel like it.
Does look bad, don't get me wrong, but he's not dead yet.
They are absolutely going to go down. More corruptors did appear. He's trying to ward them off with the limited number of anti-air that he has. There's the 2 Tempests going down, as well as a small remnant of the ground not recalled correctly. Sorry, boys. And then Zealots are going to try to find some success over the right side, which, you know, if they just stop going to choke the upside.
The Zealots have had so many moments where they
Not the first time this has happened, by the way. I know it happens to a lot of pros players, but when you're playing a game 5 against Serral, you probably want to take advantage of a few seconds of an exposed base.
Serral's already had to spend so much money reproducing units, whereas Classic Spank is very cozy at the moment. And of course, this has taken a lot of kind of Serral's pressure off the map too, because he's been focused on figuring out how to defend this very awkward position.
I think after Serral got surprised, he perhaps handled that in the best possible way, but obviously still took really big damage, and it's going to take a long time before he's back to where he was. But he's not dead yet. He's definitely in trouble, but he ain't dead.
That was a big kick to him, and he had to focus entirely on how he was going to handle it, and then actually handling it, which was quite difficult. And then he has to decide, do I recommit to something aggressive to try and buy time for rebuilding this army, or do I just try and really turtle, which will give him more opportunity to expand on the map, as well as more opportunity to kind of think through how he wants to play, right? So Classic's really taking control of this game. He's going to go back into the main.
What a nail-biting series, man. Holy smokes, it's been so tough to call.
But it's the same domino effect that I was bringing up in earlier games, which is like, the more that you don't have these bases, the more you also don't have vision there. The more that suddenly the Zealots that were in the main are now in your natural, or in your third, or wherever you're putting all your backup side defense. So in this case, it didn't work. Not much there, but it's a point that could be important in the future. The Classic wants to redouble his efforts to get the harassment to the top left. And he is currently trying to get an attack in the middle, which Serral has done a great job turtling up on, so that's not going to be super easy. And these Lings are found out, not going to find a lot of success.
Yeah, cannons coming up around the bases right now, so there's not really anywhere for the Lings to go in the kind of numbers that they're in. Again, they're only going to be +2 melee Lings currently as well. I think that Evo Chamber
could
cancel
really use this hatchery, guys.
We're actually going to see 3 more just going to try and work their way through this hatchery. So the top right base looks like it'll just go down. No answer to that. The single lurker is not good enough, and 3 immortals. Successful little run by.
Yeah. They might even be able to escape without a recall, you know? The lurkers down in the bottom right are going to try and pick through this base of Classic, and eventually they might get on top of the Nexus, but Classic is looking for a trade as the hatchery to the top left is going to go down, yes. And Serral is going to have to accept that. And just
-2 hatches within 30 seconds, obviously painful.
This space, which I think is very possible. The Zealot warping does not seem large enough. Once again, this warp prism's like, this main base is open, right? Just not really getting the right timing on it as it's destroyed.
DT's going to go after the Nidus. We'll get it, but that was a few DTs that went down, unfortunately.
Actually, very good here by Serral.
Expensive loss there from Classic. Obviously, he's got money to spend right now, but, you know, grand scheme of things, we've got to keep track of all those little trades. These Stalkers have just showed up over there, too. I mean, it's becoming a hectic situation once more as the Nidus will allow the escape away, so that bottom right side. Safe for the moment, at least. Classic will get to re-establish some static defense on that location, as we do have the greatest spy.
How many gateways does Classic have? Did they show that recently? Is it a stupid amount, or is it just like the 12 to 14?
Has not really been able to kind of puncture through everywhere. Like, he's been trying to get everywhere, but the defense from Serral has kind of stood pretty solid.
It's certainly solid enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's that many, right? Because he's obviously gone into robo units early, and then he's gone into multiple Stargates.
That difficult, but
that makes me feel a lot better about Serral's chances in this game. That we don't have to worry about 22 gates yet.
And getting prepared for another fight like the last games, which was very one-sided.
Serral forgot upgrades? I don't think Serral really forgot upgrades. Lost two spires, had to cancel the third one. It took a long time. I think he only has 1 spire right now, right? So he wants to get a greater spire, and then he will start upgrading again.
Yeah, I think he got second.
Yeah, well, +3 melee was like 70-80% done when he lost that Evo chamber in the main.
From the initial things, he's letting show up at a good time to try and help out, but just not soon enough. Enough cannons will come online. Finally, this main base is going to be under attack as a few zealots actually get to warp in, and this time we'll be successful in dealing some damage here. So that Prism finally succeeded in what is
Such good usage of a defensive burrow, by the way, on the side of Serral.
Took a long time. And it is a bother. You just don't want to lose that, and then also have even more vulnerability off to the left side where there is a base, which is like funny. Like Serral didn't forget about it.
Serral does this so well. He bought so much time with nothing. Literally has nothing, and bought so much time, and barely loses anything in the end. Greatest fire done now starts +2 carapace. There is going to be a large moment though where Classic is going to have +3 air weapons, and Serral will not even have +2 carapace. That's a night and day difference than what we saw in that last game.
And a High Templar? Yeah, actually.
I don't think he's built a Robo Bay all series. I was thinking about it in one of the earlier games for Observer speed. But maybe Classic just doesn't love it because then the Obs are so fast that they fly ahead of the rest of the army. I don't think he's built a single Robo Bay in the entire series.
You can't jump on the fight just because it's going wrong.
Some Protoss players just don't like Observer speed. I love it, but some Protoss players actually think you hurt yourself by getting it because they get too fast and they fly too far ahead of the rest of the army, and then they keep on dying.
Going in Serral's favor, and General Classic traded better in this game early on with that big Mothership recall again, so something to think on as the Prism will get chased up to this top left side one more time, and it'll once again go down. I feel like we've seen this kind of picture on repeat a few times.
Now, War Prism speed on the other end should always be good, right?
Serral did have an under-defended new base that Classic wanted to get the kill on, just didn't have enough zealots, and now maybe Serral can add that side of defense over the left too. A lot of the focus is obviously going to be on the right. There's this gold base. This is one of the few, this is the only actually shared base, if you will.
I can't think of a moment where I'd say I'd rather have a slow War Prism than a fast one.
And that's important when we've had
Observers! I would always get Observer speed, personally. But I also understand why some people say that they don't like it, because it actually gets them into trouble. While not having it wouldn't get them in trouble.
And if you're going to take a posturing, threaten your woes.
It seems like a good fight for Serral, no?
A lot of shots off right now. This is actually quite good.
Even though Serral's upgrades are bad, I think the positioning is really, really, really good.
A little time taken to finally get on top of those High Templars too,
what a
but
fight.
there's even some abducts going down. The High Templars had its skedaddle. They had the opportunity. A lot of carriers going down.
Thank you, Andy, for the bits. I appreciate it, mate.
I was trying to say, if you can attack and scare your opponent while also taking one of the maps, basically one of the bases off the map, then this is going to be ideal. But well, not if you're going to lose some of these engagements. Classic's got to be careful.
Yeah, that was a perfect example of like, let's not take the fight just because it starts off wrong, or you feel forced into it, right? Because yeah, those two Archons, they were just slapping around High Templar. Like the splash was.
This is a ridiculous series, no?
As you will see, the army showing up top left side, trying to get rid of this base we've mentioned a couple of times, has been set up, but it's not really mining too much, and it's going to go down, including the spores that we.
Yeah, because the gold is one of these bases where you don't split it. It only belongs to one player. Obviously, Serral knows that, but I think after taking all that damage in the main, Serral felt that he just couldn't quite do something about it yet. But Serral will know that if he never does anything about the gold, he's in trouble. Then it's hard to win that war of attrition. This might be another good catch, though, for Serral. Maybe Fungal.
At least a base trade, and maybe then Classic could have even gone towards the main. Another fight's coming down. However, Fungal's once again on top of the High Templar and some of the carriers.
Serral's upgrades are not that good, though. I'm very worried.
Trying to kill all the High Templars, which I believe they did. That the carriers are also starting to fall. Serral's supply is the one that dips actually much faster, despite a remax of 20 corruptors on the way.
Go back, Serral. Go back. Go back. Go back. Honestly, given the upgrades, I think that was about as good as it could have gone for Serral.
That's where Classic's army was. So Serral, I mean, doesn't exactly win the fight, does he? And just takes one.
Okay, now Serral's in trouble, I think. Unless Classic does not expect him to have 25 corruptors. This is really big for Classic. He's so rich.
Out as well with that main, so if he knows that's Classic, maybe it's time to back away with the air army. Oh, wow. Hatchery is just going to live.
Kidding?
That's so frustrating, especially in a moment of rebuilding, right?
Zealots could kill it. Zealots could kill it. Zealots!
Sometimes.
Oh! Oh my god.
They get it.
Yeah, Serral, 2,300 minerals in the bank, can do even a triple expand, but this is all adding up here as Classic continues growing his own economy. 76 probes for him still, guys. And that gold base was never punished. You know, Classic was technically out of position, but
only
Serral
one pylon
did not
there.
have the same
Serral's got 146 army supply.
Keeping Classic from being able to secure a base, and his main army had to respond to Classic.
Plus 3 carapace on the way now. It's such an... Serral really needs obviously better air upgrades, but losing those 2 spires earlier on in the main is so painful. 3-3 Corruptors with Spoke as to support destroy carriers, but if the carriers have an upgrade advantage, carriers suddenly look good and powerful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, look at his bank, right? There's nothing in there right now. The hatcheries are obviously gone down, so the mining is not there to kind of get that bank back on track at the moment either. Obviously, one fight can still change a lot. And Serral's actually, you know, an interesting situation where he has a lot more army supply than the Protoss. Oftentimes, it's the other way around. Well, they're much closer
Need better upgrades.
So, that Zerg army being quite sizable right now could be huge as the Infestors get a good couple of starting Fungals. The Archons trying to chase forward.
Do we have any Parabombs?
And we are going to see this fight breaking out. The Storms start to come through as we try and hit the Corruptors down. Who is going to come out on top of this? Well,
Neuro Parasite!
ZG.
Neuro Parasite!
There's not a lot of Interceptors left though, so
Neuro Parasite!
What
a fight!
Those are the
Oh my god!
The interceptors there impacting the fight as well.
What a fight!
More Neuro Parasites will go down to
good
help
enough?
complete the
Do we have
kill
more
on
Neuros?
Classics.
1 or 2
and then
more?
of course he'll kill the carriers after if he can.
But we're so
and it
broke.
is a big if. This is actually a really weird
We're
situation.
so broke.
Only 4 Corruptors are left over. There's not dependable anti-air.
We're so
He's
broke.
literally trying to use Classic's anti-air. But you know what? Classic at the bank, and Serral realizes it as he tries to get some counter damage done. That was not good enough, and Classic will complete the series 3-2, punch his ticket to EWC, and continue on in DreamHack Dallas.
Wow, what an incredible series. Classic showing us that he can absolutely take the best of the best to their strength of the late game and win out. I mean, he played such a good series. I mean, so much to recap on if you talk about the whole series.
Honestly sick. That means Classic qualifies for EWC, guys, and obviously he still has a shot at winning Dallas, which is very important. But qualifying for EWC is mega.
Absolute chaos as he books himself a ticket to EWC this year.
Both of them familiar with EWC or Gamers 8 2 years ago. But,
Not happy, Roddy. Nah, I'm happy for Classic. I said it before, guys. Yes, I am, of course, a team member of Basilisk, and I'll always be rooting for Basilisk players. But the neutral Starcraft fan in me is happy to see at least one Protoss in the top 4. I'm not worried about Serral and Reynor qualifying for EWC. So, in that way, like, it will come. It does suck for a lot of my European friends, because more Koreans qualifying through Dallas means it's going to be harder and harder for my European amigos to make it, besides Serral and Reynor, of course.
When we have such, little, I guess, games played between them, the ones that were played.
This was a really good series. Like, I'm sad for Serral, sad for Basilisk, because the weekend looked so promising for a bit. And now in the end, it just has turned out not to be quite our weekend. But Classic is a great guy, he's a gentleman, like, I will never be a bad sport. I'll be happy for him, and it's great to see another Protoss qualify.
He had to kind of adapt, I feel like.
Our boys will make it.
Okay, I got
I'm
the
confident.
I feel like I have to be the bully now. Wait, I can't.
And honestly, he worked so incredibly hard. Like, if he gets the job done with 3 7-minute all-ins, where Serral was just sleeping on the job and didn't build any units and only drones, maybe I'd be a little bit frustrated, but I can honestly only applaud this performance. It's incredibly sick how he played.
So much money in the bank. He was in such a comfortable place, and he was able to put himself into that final victory, which is obviously huge. Again, winning this out, qualifying to EWC. Let's face it,
That does mean that our top 4 is set, and our top 4 is Shin, Solar, Maru, Classic. I would have given you really, really, really good odds if that is the top 4 you wanted to predict coming into this event. I'll be honest, that's not the top 4 that I would have filled in.
What a fantastic result from Classic.
2.1 million points against 205,000. Just goes to show that not a lot of people would have predicted this top 4. Impressive.
When it seemed like he was down and out, he did well against Hero. And I guess Classic now can say that he has the benefit of watching that series. Most likely practicing and warming up for Serral, of course, but he was able to catch that series at least a little bit. And we'll see how he can improve on the PVT against Maru. But we have another series first to do, right? So we had 2 round of 8 matches yesterday, and that led to Shin versus Solar for our first semifinal cast today, and then the Maru Classic series.
Yep, a little bit of ZVZ and then a little bit of TVP, setting us up for a non-mirror match of a grand final at the end of the day, as well as obviously everyone's booked into EWC now. there is still prize money to be won. So there's obviously a lot to play for here still on the rest of these games. A couple of best of 5s and a best of 7 coming up. It is going to be Shin versus Solo when we return from this quick little break.
Very quickly. Oh, well, what a series. Sad for Serral, but amazing for Classic, right? Indeed, also Korean domination over here. An all top 4. Korean or full Korean top 4 is a better way to phrase that. Very surprising. Damn. Korea's back. Alright guys, what do we blame it on? What do we blame it on as foreigners? There's gotta be a reason. There's gotta be an excuse. What is it? Is it because the Koreans are now laddering on Europe? Are they stealing our ladder points and our prize money? What are we gonna cry about? With 4 Koreans in the top. Is it the RSL? Jet lag? Possible, possible. Flying back in time is very difficult. We can... we have plenty of Protoss in Europe though, so I feel like we can't really put it on Protoss bullshit. Europe washed, Texas heat. I don't know. There's gotta be some reason. It can't just be that the Korean players played incredibly well and had a great performance. And it could be different next time though. There's gotta be a specific reason. Do we blame Blizzard? Is it David Kim's fault? War? Oh my god. What if it's David Kim's fault? All the Europeans were playing Battle Aces. Now Battle Aces gets dropped. Koreans are back on top. Honestly, that might actually be it. Basilisk boys are a huge party. Nah, I don't believe that. Our boys are very professional. And with our boys, I mean Serral. I don't trust Reynor for a second, but I do trust Serral. Shin versus Solar, best of 5 semi-finals. Shin, KRZ, Solar, KRZ. Give you guys 15 minutes as we have a pretty long countdown.